Okay.
At this time, I'd like to call the Monday meeting of the Nashville Council to order. Everybody, will we please stand for our pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this beautiful day, and we just really need your guidance and your wisdom as we look at the budget for the town of Nashville for the next year. In the precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Mayor, before we get started, I'd like to thank all of the council people that agreed to move this meeting to Monday so I could take a trip that I make every year last week, because it really meant a lot for us to take that trip. It was a long trip. But I appreciate everybody agreeing to move it to a Monday. I know this is unusual for us.
Well, we wouldn't do it for everybody.
I know you would. And that's what makes me feel so good about it. Thank you so much.
And listen, we really need to pray for our Xavier. He's not able to be here today, but just keep him in your prayer. First item on our agenda, did you want to say anything first, Randy?
Well, just to let you know, we'll get started. We have Daniel Jones with VC3 here this morning with us. It's been a few years since we've had any update on cybersecurity and our IT. VC3 is the company that does that for us. And more and more, we're paying for more security than I think we are IT anymore. But that's the reality that we're in. So if you're okay, Mayor and Council, we'll have Daniel take it over.
Okay, Daniel.
Good morning,
Thanks for
everyone.
coming.
Thanks for having me. Since I haven't been here in a while, I just kind of get a background of who we are, our partnerships, our experience, and kind of going through the agreements that we have with the town of Nashville and everything that we've accomplished, basically from the very start of where you guys were originally to where we're at today. And in the future. I've also got some snippets from some recent security incidents within the state as well. Is that any better?
Yes.
That's better.
So VC3, we are a managed service provider. We have been in business over 30 years. The bread and butter of this company is pretty much in the local government and municipal space. They were created or started in South Carolina, and they grew in all throughout South Carolina into North Carolina. Now we're actually in about 25 states and across Canada. But when you look at where our heavy presence is, it's still in the Southeast, in the Carolinas, Alabama, Georgia. And like I said, huge focus has always been and is on the municipal government space, specializing in everything the towns do in regards to public safety, fire, EMS, those type of things. We are a preferred partner with the North Carolina League. We work with them consistently all the time. We've been partnering and doing videos with them about every other month, where we give presentations on various states, whether it's just cybersecurity, things to watch out for, AI, future trends, things like that. Our managed services are constantly changing to the needs of our clients. So we are a complete managed IT service. We can come into an organization that has no IT at all and fit very nicely, or we can come into an organization that already has a few IT staff and pick up the pieces that they aren't able to achieve with the people they have. Again, we've been doing this for about 30 years. We have a 24/7 organization. We have over 600 people. So obviously we are not staffed at the full capacity 24 hours, but we have folks that are working, after 5 o'clock in the evening, up to 8 in the morning, that can answer calls and get them to the appropriate people. So I'll share an incident just because it comes to mind. It was another town here in North Carolina. There's a police officer who accidentally opened something he wasn't supposed to, and he realized he did, and he was frantically got out of the car and was like running through the parking lot trying to get into the office to notify. And within 6 minutes, we had picked it up, blocked it, and was quarantining and isolating it. So to give you an idea, as Randy mentioned, it feels like we're spending more and more money on security. Unfortunately, everyone is, because it's just the nature of the world that we live in right now. But the type of tools and solutions that we have in place, it's always nice to, when you can put it into a real world situation. I can't think of anything more real world than that in regards to the time that he clicked it to the time that he got it and was able to get a hold of someone. We had already seen it and been taking care of it within 6 minutes. So it kind of says a lot to the existing solutions that we have in place and the type of protections that we have within our solutions for our clients. Accomplishments that we have achieved from the very start. When we first, I've had Nashville as a client from the very start. You guys were one of my very first clients. One of the first things we did is there was fiber between town hall and the police department, but it hadn't been turned on or taken advantage of. So we turned on the fiber between the buildings, which meant less equipment that needed to be at the town hall. Now everything comes through internet connections directly from the police department. So your main fire department, police department, and town hall all are interlinked together and go out an individual internet connection. We replaced the older physical servers in both town hall and police. We virtualized those servers, and now they are all running on a single server in the police department. We also provided and set up managed backups and disaster recovery for all of the servers. And that device is also over in the police department. So I can give you an example there too. I had a client down near the border, same backup solution that you guys have. Their 911 server that does their CAD and dispatch and everything else, they had a vendor coming in to do some work on the building, and they kind of tripped the power and it caused the server to go down, and the server wouldn't come back up. We were able to take that server and spin it up on that disaster recovery device, just like the one you guys have, and had them back up and running in a couple hours. And then we could spin back around and deal with the problem of the physical server itself not coming up. In the meantime, as part of this that everyone went through, just being able to deal with COVID, where traditionally almost everyone's more of a desktop shop, and we shifted and modified it over to laptops where needed for the critical services to meet that growing need. We took it away from the old traditional office and email system over to Office 365. We implemented a voice over IP phone systems that's used throughout all the sites in Nashville right now today, which has also grown and shifted because Parks and Rec has moved 2 times. And then phones have shifted wherever they've needed, whether it's temporarily for a couple years at Health Lodge or to the new fire station. We've just shifted things around to try to keep costs as low as possible. Part of those accomplishments was the services that I kind of provide, which is helping to do budgeting and strategic planning, as well as to analyze the health of the environment. I also get involved in a lot of the security items too, where clients are renewing their cybersecurity insurance, and the insurance companies will say, fill out this form. And the form is usually, they look at it and say, this makes no sense to me. So those usually come over to me and I fill out. And usually it's just what type of things do you have in place to protect the town so that they can provide you the best coverage at the best price. Again, we did what we call network as a service. So we've provided the firewalls and the switches and wireless access points at all of the town sites. And again, that has been really helpful in regards to you guys get a fair amount of storms that come through. So a lot of the equipment, the buildings and the power within the buildings hit the equipment. And so when the equipment, when that happens, a lot of times equipment gets damaged. So we've been able, because all of that equipment is owned by us, so it's on us to get it replaced for you or taken care of, or the maintenance, the warranties, that's all provided by us. So I think you guys have had like 5 or 6 firewalls that have been needed to be replaced because of the storms that come through. But the nice thing about that service is that it's our piece of equipment. It's on us to get it replaced and get it back up and ready for you. We've also been able to shift that equipment from various sites as you guys have grown and moved and whatever. Like I said, when we started at Parks and Rec, we were at the ball field. And since then, we're on our second site. And we had a need to have some, especially officers over at the Elks Lodge for a while. So we shifted equipment over there to handle it. And then again, when that was no longer needed, we were bringing down the library and adding Fire Station 2. We took that existing network equipment and just kind of plugged it where it was needed. So again, trying to keep costs down as low as possible so nothing new needed to be added while you guys have grown and shifted to meet your needs. On the managed security side, there was nothing in place, which isn't saying anything because a lot of cities and towns don't really have much in the way of security coming in. So from the very start, we've added dark web monitoring, web content filtering, phishing simulator, and user training. That's a big one that all the cybersecurity insurance firms will be asking for. It's pretty much a requirement that they require that, either for coverage or they're going to charge you astronomical premiums. We have advanced email security in place, allowing encryption and spam filtering. Cloud protection and cloud data. These are kind of generic, but what one of those is for your 365, your email account. It makes it more challenging because at the local government space, everybody's email address is public information. They can come up with information. The cloud protection, what it is, it's consistently monitoring the Microsoft 365 cloud. So if we start seeing someone trying to use Randy's ID from, let's say, California or even Mexico or somewhere else, it's going to trigger us. And it could just be, hey, I'm trying to get in, so they're guessing the password, or back to dark web monitoring or something else. Maybe they've already got his password from a dark web dump or something else. But either instance, if it says, hey, and he successfully logged in from, said, the UK, we'll be blocking quarantine, immediately resetting his password, letting him know, as well as if you're using that password anywhere else, changing across the board, things like that. The cloud data recovery, Microsoft by default only keeps 90 days of the history up in its cloud. That particular one, that last one, that is indefinite retention of their cloud space. So that way, if anything terrible happens there, we can bring back any data that was in their cloud beyond that 90 days. So to give you an idea of everything that's going on, and this is just in the last maybe 6 to 9 months. So if you guys hadn't heard, Carolina Beach was hit in December. The figures are kind of varying, but it's right around $500,000. They only had $25,000 of cyber insurance. So the town is liable for the rest of that $475K. Pender County isn't too far away. Again, a similar type of scam that they were hit with was $650,000. I also have a client that went through a ransomware incident. This is probably 2 years ago. Their price tag to get everything cleaned, rebuilt, is closer to $1 million. So to give you real dollar amounts of what's actually happening or what has happened and trying to rebuild from that, that's the real world numbers. That isn't really meant to scare you. It's just the world we live in. It's no longer the bored people in the basements doing this. It's dedicated groups. It's big money, as you can see, just between Carolina Beach and Pender. That's over $1 million between the two of them. And the reason I'm doing it is because they can. They can get away with it. And even with the laws that say you won't pay for ransomware, they'll find other ways. They'll trick you into sending an invoice or paying a fake invoice and things like that. So unfortunately, the threats are real. From a strategic alignment standpoint, we have an internal application that we use that it's just best practice for all governments or even municipal governments. Our intent is to have all of our clients at 80% or above. Nashville is at 97.6. There's only 2 items that you guys don't have in place that would bring you up to 100. One of those we already have budgeted for next fiscal year. We tried doing it this year, but I was trying to be frugal and I did not design it very well. So that was on me. I was trying to sneak it in into the town as the least expensive as I could make it. And it didn't work out that way. The other item just has to do with, I believe, the one is secure hard drive wiping and certification. So again, it's one of those that trigger the scoring, but in the end, if you don't have a compliance need from an outside entity or your own policies stating you need to do that, then there's no reason to pay the money. So the score is a little deceptive there. All in all this comes out to say is the town is in a very good position from a security standpoint compared to a lot of other cities and towns that have very little to no protections in place at all. Unfortunately, it changes all the time, and there's always new security things, new ways that they're coming in. We forecasted out for the next fiscal year for the existing services as well as the items that we know that we need to put into place. The main agreement is at the very top. VA is what we call our voice, which is the phone system. The hardware as a service is broken up still into 2 pieces because we'd split it off originally. So that's the network component and then the managed security components. And then of course we have the hosted backups, which is that backup and disaster recovery. And then the future items that we have is we want to put in multi-factor authentication for Office 365. PC replacements is just a recurring annual thing that we project out what's going end of life. And we always forecast a certain amount for that each year. Yeah. The screen. Yeah, let's see. Let's try this. The same. Bigger. A little bigger. I'm not sure. Okay. I'll just- We are coming up for just end of life timeframe on the existing network equipment, whether it's decided to keep it owned by us or the town owns it themselves. That hasn't been decided yet, but that's coming up pending, as well as the age of that backup device. It's called a data device. And disaster recovery is also coming up near its end of life. So these are projected projects for this next fiscal year. Again, there's a little bit of shifting that can occur with those. It isn't every single one of those line items has to be done next fiscal year. That's just the best practice based on end of life and the time frames. But we've got a year or so in there that we can shift and jockey those from one fiscal year to another. I always build into the budgets that ability to not kill. So it's like, the money is available, this is what we should do. We don't have the money, fine, let's let this one out. And we'll make it accordingly to fit within whatever the budget needs are for that fiscal year.
What's the budget for this year?
I can bring it up. Well, I'll see if I can bring it back up after we finish up. So compliance requirements. That's another item that's coming more and more, is just compliance requirements from federal, I wouldn't say federal, it is federal, but any outside entity that's coming down. So the biggest one for any local governments is CJIS requirements. You could have, if you do any type of federal work, you could have CMMC compliance. You could have HIPAA, of course, if you deal with any type of medical. There's also IRS, PCI, personal identifiable information, credit card information, or anything else. So one of the things we have is the ability to help cities and towns that struggle with that. Nashville doesn't. Obviously, they have most of the security things in place. The police department is really up to date on its CJIS things that it needs and what it requires. This is a good breakout. The CJIS document is one of those that's open to interpretation, and it's a very big document to go through, but these are the main 13 areas that focuses on. This is just meant to give you an idea that just how much compliance that cities and towns have to adhere to that you may not even know is out there. And again, this isn't anything the town's lacking in. You already have almost everything that you can have to meet these or checking these off. And like I said, the internal police department is already fully aware of all this and is up to date or is compliant, I'll say it that way, because it constantly changes. You guys have any questions? We're trying to pull up that budget.
What's the CJIS stand for again?
Criminal Justice Information System, I think. So it's basically just crime data, crime statistics, anything that can come back to be kind of that personal identifiable information at the crime level. So just to even have access to it, you have to have fingerprint checks. I don't think I do anymore, but I used to have my fingerprints done once a year, and they'd send out the cards and everything else. The CJIS document, like I said, is open for interpretation. Some people will say you can't even walk into the building unless you've been CJIS certified. Others say you can come in as long as you're escorted. So it's different for every state, every town, every area. Some are very stringent and really lock it down tight. Some will say, okay, if I walk into a police department, then you have to buzz me through a door. Because that's the physical security side of it. That's good enough. After that, and we've done our check. And then others will say, well, unfortunately, we've got maybe some things out in the open, computer type equipment. That's not good enough, then it's behind a locked door. So it always comes down to who's reading that policy, who's interpreting it for the state, and who's interpreting it for the town. So my part is, how do you guys define it? And then I line everything with how you guys want to interpret the policy and the adherence to it.
Man, what is our VC3 budget for this year?
I'm thinking it was like 180 approximately,
It's about $180.
180,000. And Daniel, can you pull up your?
Just for the main
You talking
agreement.
about triple? That budget, excuse me, that budget does include some items that don't go to VC3. Daniel, if you want to point out what those are, is that's all of our, software and everything too, correct? Some of the things that the town manages separately.
For,
What dollar amount are we looking likely for 2027?
right now, for the main agreements would be those top 6 lines. Let me see if I can try to pull up the other one.
While you're looking at that, did you say our town's been with you for 30 years? No.
We've been company for 30 years. You guys have been with us
Just
since
talking
around
about, you've been with us since the beginning.
2018 or 2019.
19.
Does that mean you personally?
Yeah. Daniel's been with us since we've been with VC3, and we started in 2019.
Yeah. You guys in Winterville are my first 2 clients. And I celebrate. We have Terry down in Winterville.
With the changeover or the new equipment, what is the advantage of the town owning the equipment rather than VCC maintaining it? Because after your life is fixed, what are we gonna do with it?
And if it gets messed up,
Right.
they'll fix it.
No, they'll fix it on cost if
Right.
it's ours.
Right.
But if it's theirs,
There's no right or wrong either way. It's just almost everything done up as a service. When you factor it out over 3 years or 5 years, it costs more. So it's back to what additional value or are you getting additional services built into that as a service cost. So is it better financially to have it owned by us? At times it can be because of the storms and other things that come through. So if you guys own it, we're still going to maintain it, monitor it, we're going to watch it, watch the health. I'm going to track the dates to know here it's coming end of life or the warranty's up, it's time for renewal, and I'll do a quote for you. Keep it renewed, keep it maintained. So nothing changes really from the support, it's just the ownership model. Now, if we own it, those warranty renewals and maintenance renewals that come up, we pay for it. That's bundled into the cost. As well as, like I said, it's off, something terrible happens, you gotta be trucking another firewall or switch and bring it up here and put it in. So if you own it, and something happens, then purchasing another piece of equipment would have to happen. And then trying to wait to get it from the manufacturer. So it's that type of which is better. Neither one is better or worse, it's just which works better for the town. And it's been like this from the start, like I said, with the town. So we've been able to shift the equipment wherever you've needed it, in any site that you suddenly say, I want to put the library over here now. Not a problem, pick up that equipment, move it over there, replug it in, reconfigure it, off you go. Again, all the warranties and renewals that have been needed to keep everything maintained, we've done, and that's been part of the process of the payment of it. So in the end, there's no right or wrong. It just depends what everyone's most comfortable with. So if I were to say you pay for all the network equipment to get it replaced today, and then we say, okay, this is what it would be if we own it for, let's say, 3 or 5 years, more likely when you do the math, you will pay us more for that 3 or 5 years than you buying it yourself.
I guess my question is, how much more?
But also, what's like the useful life of technology? Everything is changing
Right.
every
It's
year.
changing every
So
year.
it could be 2 years down the line where it says, oh, well, technologies have increased and what you have is no longer even.
And we got to
Best
buy all
practice on equipment is, industry best practice is 5 years. Realistically, what I do for my clients, like I said, I will budget and forecast for 5 years, but the reality is like a firewall, a switch, you can go up to 7. But I budget and forecast for everyone saying, let's plan on 5, and then we go, okay, we'll come up to that time period and say, we've got to get some of these other things in place, or we want to build a third fire station or something else. Then we slide that down for another fiscal year, because technically you could go up to about 7 years before, then you really must replace it. So again, it's PC level 2, 5 years, but can you squeeze 6 or 7? Yes, you can. So all of this is in that position now to where this is what's projected and best practice. The outside of the firewalls, because at the manufacturing level, they're coming up end of life. The data device, the network, that can all be slid to another fiscal year, or, like I said, be taken away from the snapshot here.
We started in 18 or 19 with 10.
Mhm.
Is all of our equipment that old?
Not all of it. Because at different stages, when we first came in and evaluated everything, we took off a piece at a time and so on. So like right now, the physical servers that are in place, they are projected to need to get replaced in the 27-28 budget. But that'll be 5 years, which means can we inch that out to a 6th and 7th year? Yes. So it's more of just blocking it up, saying, this fiscal year, this is what we should tackle. Next fiscal year would be this. Next fiscal year is that, and broken out over time.
Larry, you'd asked the question, our contract with VC3 for the fiscal year we're in right now, $191,000. And what Daniel's proposing here is about $199,000. So it'd be about an $8,000 increase.
Is that just for the main agreement?
That's at the top.
The top.
None of the computers or anything. I just took the spreadsheet that you sent from last year,
Mhm.
about 25, 26, and the top portion, which is the manage, the VA, the phones, the backup service,
Oh,
all
okay.
those
that-
lines together.
So the main agreement.
Correct. That's
Gotcha.
it.
Okay.
But that's the total.
199.
193 for this current year, but 199 coming up.
I'm sorry, 193.
And that's an estimated number.
Yeah, I got over 200, it was like 207,
If we replace all the equipment.
doing the 6 lines.
The 6
But
lines.
I was averaging 2, so.
And you gotta take into account there was some additional, some increases that fell in. Like they're not always, on July. They might fall in August, December.
The other items are all replacement. We would actually own the equipment that was decided with no lease or anything.
We lease the phones. The actual phones and houses.
The figures down there in blue, that talk, it actually says client owned. I don't know what plugged in. So the items, these right here, that would be factored or estimated if the town owned the network equipment. So what could be done is that we keep it as it is because the network components are higher up. We could refresh it. It would just, those 2 line items drop completely off. But the 2 that say halves, the 3rd and 4th lines, so these right here, these 2, that's the existing network equipment today. So if we decided, you know what, let's refresh it, but let's have VC3 own it, then those 2 big line items down below drop off, and that's going to increase some, but then we'd refresh the equipment, it would have a new time period, and they would just be built into the main agreement numbers.
I missed the last part. Understand. Not hearing.
That's okay. So the line 3 and 4, that just stands for hard places service. So that's all of the network.
Where we at? On top.
Right here. So that's the existing network equipment today.
That's a lease amount or that's a
That's,
service amount?
that's the lease amount.
Okay.
And then if we say, okay, VC3, you continue to own it, we would refresh the equipment. Those 2 line items would change, and you'd probably increase. But then those bottom lines of 41, 955, and 93 go away.
So are we gonna eventually have a side-by-side of what it would be leasing versus owning?
I can do that upgrade. And then it's like, then we can project how 3 years or 5 years total cost
What do
versus
most
now.
towns do? Or is it about half?
It's half and half. It's all over, like the coastal towns, they like the as a service model because of the hurricanes and everything else. Normally for a town where you guys are at, I'd say own it yourself. The hard part is, the cost of buying it up front. But you guys get so much storms through here, I'd say keep it with us. Now, the only thing that could come back is at some point in time, will the manufacturer say, we're not going to replace it for free because that was a power strike or something else. But so far, you know, we're able to replace it. It honestly varies. I have some towns that own all their equipment. I have others that they want us to own it all. And then I've got some that a little bit of both. The simple, basic desktop laptops, they'll get from us, but they'll go buy the higher end ones themselves. Just depends on how they like to do things or anything else. So I never go into it saying, you must do this, you must do that. It's more, what do you prefer? And then I align everything we have accordingly. And none of this is, like I said, right now, I've always been incredibly transparent because, like I said, it's been as a service for the duration that you guys have been with us since 2019. Now that it's coming up near end of life, it's like, okay, do you want to continue that? And I can forecast out, here's the cost of that versus you owning it. Or do you want to buy it yourself? And you go, and you look at the numbers and go, we'd like to buy it ourselves, but we can't do it now. Okay, well then let's shift it and let's plan to do that. And if we say, okay, it didn't work out, we can always go back to it, but we still own it at a later time. So it's got that ability to shift or do different things with it.
So if we purchased it, does the agreement say that if there's a problem with compatibility with you, it has to be, you have to be purchased?
Or compatibility with.
Oh, I'm not that guy. So,
Okay, I can't think of any compatible. So if you own the equipment, you purchase it outright, we help put it in. The overall service doesn't change. We've always monitored anything and everything you guys have in the town.
that's where we spend $200,000, and then 2 years from now you say, that equipment you bought isn't right, we need to do this, so we can't service you. That's the concern.
Trying to think through all the different scenarios. In the time I've been with PC3 and ever having that come up, I would say no. The only thing that could come up is if for some reason the manufacturer of the device itself changes its end of life. Like right now, the firewalls are coming up end of life in about 6 months, I think. So normally when we forecast out, it's going to be the type of equipment that is being designed to be put in has not just 3 years, it has 5, 6, 7, 10 years lifespan, both from manufacturer as well as just normal wear and tear, things like that. So can I say with 100% certainty that would not happen? No, I can kind of say with 99.9 that it won't.
How often does it happen where the manufacturer changes the end of life acceptance?
Not very often.
Just saying, everybody collectively is really hard to hear,
Okay, I'll try.
all across the board.
Sorry. Lost the last question.
I just wanted to add that even though we budgeted last year, but keep in mind that we added a whole new department, which is for libraries to PC3.
Wow.
That loud. That's a squirrel.
Check it out.
Yeah, so what Tressa was mentioning was that previous time, we brought in the library. We had done minimal support for the library. It was always kind of its own thing that we partnered with and helped out when things came up. But for last year's fiscal year, we had brought on, so now the entire town is now supported. So that's 10, 12, and they have miscellaneous devices. So that was basically a whole other small department that got added to all that as well.
So Randy, who on our staff has really taken a deep dive, if anybody, into this to see what's worth owning versus leasing?
Yeah. Well, Coy and Tressa have, and we bring in Chris Aycock too, because he's kind of techy. And we've made the decision to buy our own PCs. With PC3 help speccing them out to make sure that we get what we need in order for it to operate on our system fine. We kicked around the idea of of the telephone system, maybe buying and purchasing that. We've leased it since the beginning with VC3. We're still in a position where, you know, I think leasing those still makes the most sense. If one of them gets struck by lightning, they replace it, and we don't have to shell out the money for it. But and they're relatively inexpensive per month to lease.
It is. And phones, just like anything else, they do go end of life at some point in time as well. They usually have a longer lifespan, but that still happens.
But the firewalls and the routers, that is VC3 equipment. And those are the ones that Daniel mentioned several times are susceptible to storms and get taken out. And they have. I'm not sure why, but
I don't know.
How many PCs are we looking at for the town?
we probably have 16. More than that. How many going?
You have the other, the workstation tab on that, or did not? I don't have an exact number.
I can get you if it'll open for me. See if this one.
66 is what I got for this one.
66.
66. You see,
Yeah,
This one last year.
yeah, 66 is what I show.
yeah, it could be.
I mean, it's fairly, I mean, we haven't, I mean, if an employee leaves and they get the previous device or they have to replace it, so I think it's a pretty decent number.
What did you just say?
So if employee leaves, then the new employee takes that device. So it's really not adding on unless we were hiring people. We haven't created a new position, so I think this is a good one.
But what our PCs that we have now, are they almost at the end of life?
Well, we have a plan in place where we're basically budgeting each year to replace X amount and whoever needs it.
Okay.
It's just,
It's based on a 5-year
yeah.
lifespan.
So the main ones that we have budgeted for this year are the workstations for the library, and they are okay with stretching those out for another year. So that, we actually are not budgeting that many pieces.
So everything is tracked with a date. Like I said, it's in this tab here. I apologize that it's so small. So every 3 months we meet and I refresh this to give them, here's your latest equipment that I show that you guys have. Here's the dates by end of life date. So here's the oldest. And again, they like to buy their own. So I said, not a problem. At least get it with this much memory, this much hard drive space, professional license, blah, blah, blah.
I would think it'd be wise to purchase our PCs
We do.
and telephone, but the other stuff like you just said, man, the hard drive, the brains of it all, let them keep it and maintain that.
That's pretty much the way we're doing it, Larry. Is that route?
I think it might be.
So the first page that had the numbers, the 470,000 number, and the stuff that Bob's on the top, is that what Jesse and Coy worked on with you? Is that what I'm saying? That y'all work together, or is that something you're proposing?
This here.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a combination of both. So part of it, the top 6 lines, are just the existing agreements that are in place for the IT services. So assuming that there are no new fire departments, nothing new, I project out on current counts when I put it together. And based on like any cost of living increases or anything like that that's built into the agreements, that's factored out, and that's what those 6 line items are. Then the additional line items are the additional things that need recommended or need to be put into place. I said we want to get the last level of multi-factor authentication put in place for the town to protect it. Another block is PC replacements. But again, that's tracked and managed. They have all the dates. If I want to slide some of the library out, we can, because we built it in that way to give the flexibility to do that with the budget. So like the PC replacements, I put in as if we're going to replace everything that shows end of life. But what they want to do is up to them. Now, if they want to come back and say, okay, we only want to replace these 10 or 12, can you adjust that number for me? I'll do that happily. But that's projected out in that fashion. And then the other items are my things to project out what it's going to cost to replace some of the infrastructure items, like that data device and the network equipment.
So the answer is just you. This is you.
Most of it's, yeah.
And we also have Coy, Randy, I feel like we've already, looked at other IT companies. It's gonna be way more costly, so, it's just what it is.
That wasn't the reason for question. The reason for question was, we have somebody in staff who has fairly good knowledge of tech, is looking at this and recommending this. Is that what I want to hear? I hope.
Yeah, the best we have, yes, is looking at it.
That's nothing against you.
No, don't. I mean, keep me honest, and I will break down anything out of capacity they want. If Tressa says, this makes no sense to me, I want to see it like this, I'll break it up like that.
And
I've
you
got
just-
some that want town and public safety separate categories, and I'll do my best to split it apart and say, here you go.
So you've had an input from our people
Hmm?
with this, so he's
Yeah.
just presenting it for us to chew on it.
Right, and everything that's here, there's tabs across the bottom, have all the equipment, the dates, everything else. And I have it tracked in another one, but I handed off to Tressa. She said, let me see the details. I track your monthly invoices, so I see when your counts go up and down, so I can see what the patterns are and everything else, which I'm sure she has her own way of kind of tracking at that level too. But that's how I project out, like the main agreement is, I need to know what your monthly invoices are, if it's growing, or, if it's shifting up or the numbers are staying constant, because that is what helps me determine my projections. So again, that's not done in a vacuum. If she suddenly said, I want to see that, here you go. It's your guys' numbers. It's just my spreadsheet to help me stay organized. So,
And this year, we suggested putting all of VC3 in an IT line, because when you split it out between our departments, we do it, but it's very convoluted. We have to split it all out, so at the end of the year, when it's time to budget for it, we have to go through every one of these little lines and try to add it up, and it's easier to just say, okay, well, this is what they budgeted, this is what we paid, so we took it all out of everybody's department and put it in none department. I think that's a better way to keep track of it, so you can just see it's one line. But all the invoices are still billed out separate, but it'll just be easier to see it as a whole. That's my opinion. Just me working
I
in
realize
it,
how much you're spending on it.
Yeah, because you can see it, but every month, just like at one point, we were expecting a decrease. We added the library, we also added the fire station too. So the town is growing, which means this bill is gonna grow too.
Well, we've talked internally, staff too, about, do we look at bringing in-house IT and having our own IT person, similar to what larger local units of government do, and there's certainly pros and cons. I mean, one of the pros with having VC3 is they have 153 IT engineers that keep abreast on the latest threats. My biggest concern about bringing it in-house is, is our IT person going to be so busy making sure everybody's laptop is working the way it's supposed to, that they're not getting the latest word on what the newest threat is, and we end up with having some type of security breach, which Daniel pointed out to us. I mean, there's real, true cost to that. And more than anything, it's just the aggravation of going through it. I mean, when Rocky Mountain went through it 3 years ago, they were dead in the water for 3 weeks. They couldn't do anything.
the client I had, they had the ransomware. It had happened right near Christmas time. And we were all in a conference room, and there were other towns and counties down near them that were saying, don't expect to be up and running for a year. I mean, we've lived it already. And at least their core critical applications and their infrastructure, we had them up in 90 days. Now, fully replacing 300 computers or cleaning them and doing all that, that took a full year. But all their critical services and anything else, that's the main infrastructure. We had temporary things up faster than that, but to say, okay, all the core 911 CAD, the DSS stuff that they had to do, we had backup and going in 90 days. So, and again, that's just, like you said, There are plenty of cities and towns who pull it in and say, we're going to do it ourselves. We can. It's very challenging because finding that IT person that kind of knows it all, it's a hard person to find. And then if you do, how long can you retain them? And that's kind of the reality that usually hits a lot of cities and towns. But then we have some that have their own IT and we come and we do part and they do part of their own. So it's just whatever makes the most sense to you guys.
Any other questions? If not, thank you so much.
And I will do a breakdown of what the network is as a service and get that back through Randy, back to you guys.
Thank you so much. And thank those of you that work with him.
I was just, if anyone else has any questions, just feel free to shove it through Tressa or Randy. It's just Daniel.Jones. I'll answer any questions you have.
Thank you so much. Okay, the next item is our fire department budget presentation.
I'm gonna try to make the screen fit, but
Okay.
just,
Yes.
I just guess I'm gonna take this.
Go ahead, Chief. Thanks, Daniel. Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm gonna start out this morning with the first picture being our open house day. That was the picture that was taken at the front station that morning, so that was one of the proud achievements we had this year with the fire department. So the contents of this is gonna be the 2025 review, the breakdown from 2024 to 2025, our call volume, the growth in the town of Nashville, the growth in the Newton S. Gully Fire District, our projected population, NFPA standards and requirements for fire emergency service, department staffing levels, call response to incidents, and needs and planning 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 10 years. So we'll get started with, here was some of our stuff for this past year. One of the first things it says there is the fire department responded to the most emergency incidents in the calendar year for 2025. We responded to 2,043 instances. The call volume was up from 2024 by 183 emergency calls. So this morning with the numbers from projected from the last call last night, we're projected right now to run 62 more calls this year so far with the projections we've got. We've had 2 members of full-time staff leave the department. They're going to other jobs, both for senior firefighters. One's left for a full-time position for higher pay at the Durham City Fire Department. The other one is going to Northside Fire Department in Johnston County. The fire department staff volunteers and career completed 6,404 hours of training for last year. September the 13th, the town of Nashville and the Gully Fire District celebrated ribbon cutting and the open house of Station 2. And down at the bottom, it talks about some of the things that we have done this year. We assisted with special events during the year, the Blooming Festival, the Police and Fire Camp, Halloween Festival, Christmas Parade, and the 3rd annual egg drop. This gives a breakdown of our numbers. In 2023, we ran 1,810 calls, and we run 66 of those were fire-related calls. In 2024, we run 1,860, which was up 50 calls, and we had 54 fire-related calls that year. Last year was the year that jumped. We went for a total of 2,043 calls, and 72 of those were related to fire. And I've got another breakdown a little bit further in here that'll talk about those. Our population, this shows the town of Nashville. These were the ones that we showed you in 2024 that were coming. Cardinal Woods had 248 houses. It was going to be a 3-phase growth. Breedlove Road had 48. These are what they look like as of Friday last week. You can see how they are already growing out. Cardinal Woods, 248 houses, there's 73 houses already complete in phase 1 back there. The Breedlove Road with 48, there's 43 houses already completed in there, and that one will probably be built out, I'm projecting probably by the end of June, that subdivision will be completely full. In our Gully Fire District, out in our, the district we respond to, both of these subdivisions were completed. Both of them come online in 2024. There was 45 houses in Castleberry, and in Bakerfield there was 60 homes. Both of those are completely built out today, so that's 105 houses that have been built out as of today. Residential growth in the Gully Fire District, Bass Farms off of Oak Level Road is going to have 69 houses in it. They're 20,000 square foot lots. The Castleberry Section 3, which is across from the other Castleberry, is going to have 36 homes in it, and they're 30,000 square foot lots going in there. That's 2 of them. That's 105 more. We have another one that's coming in off of Old Carriage Road that's going to have 10 houses, and I think they're going to be more high-end houses what are going in that little subdivision there. But that's right off of Old Carriage Road. It's in our district.
Chief, refresh my memory as to the location for Bass Farm.
Bass Farms,
Castleberry.
if you're going down Oak Level Road, where you turn right to go on Barnesville Church Road, you
Yeah.
turn left, you can go in that subdivision that's in that open field in there between the two subdivisions there.
That's Bass Farm.
Castleberry Section 3 is right to your right. It's where they've cleared off and they've now put the roads in over there. There's 36 houses going in there.
I got you. Okay. And then
36.
okay.
So during the ice storm and the kidney stone, I sat at the computer and GSI'd all of our district, Gully and the town, looking through those. So I done a rooftop counts. The town of Nashville by rooftops is 2,774 rooftops now. If you use the population number that we use now, which is 2.45, which it used to be 2.62, but now it's 2.45, that gives us an actual total population at 6,797. Newton Gully has 2,599 rooftops in it. And if you use the 2.45 on that, it is 6,368, which gives you a total of we're actually serving over 13,000 people in the Gully district and in the town. There's 2 things, well actually 3 things I want to point out here. This does not count Autumn Care, and this does not count Nashville Gardens. It does not count the prison, and it does not count the jail. The jail has a little over, is it 330 total, do you know?
It's slated at 300, but it's always over 300.
Yeah, I think it's 330, prisons at 750, and unfortunately, the population at the rest home changes every day. I mean, that's the way that is, but, so you're looking at our totals there, we're over, right at 15,000 folks we're serving. Projected, this is what's come off the computer, our projected 2025 population for the town is 5,899 now. It was 5,850 last year, and then census was 5,756. Our total rooftops, and this is something every time myself and Mr. Lansing meet with Susan Phelps, I push out there because restaurants look at rooftops. Our rooftops now are around 5,373 in this area that could support more restaurants. So I'll make sure we point that out too for our growth. So looking under the NFPA 1710 was where we look at for what our requirements are when it comes to staffing. A single family dwelling is 16 members and 17 on the aerial piece. That's a initial fire alarm for a structure fire, which is a 2,000 square foot home. The other one is the occupancy of a garden style apartment complex. You should have 27 members and 28 on the aerial on the first initial alert. That's with their 1,200 square foot apartments. You know, we have them here in town. We have the 3-story apartments that were just built the other year. Those are the numbers that are there, and for us to put 27 members on, or 27 people right now, and that's gonna take like 6 to 7 fire departments in the county. And I have also changed where Rocky Mountain is our 4th end inside the town. That took out one of our volunteer departments, but the problem we're running into during the day is we're only getting 2 to 3 people for my volunteer departments, and they're paid part-time people also. So that's one reason we've changed some of those around at what we're doing. The whole county abroad this past year used to be three departments on the structure fire, and now we're going to 4 departments on the structure fire because we're not getting help. There was a fire in the county. We were actually full fin. We were actually the first engine on the scene that not had structure fire in their district. It's just harder and harder. And the volunteers are giving everything they can. It is just, life is so hard and pulling so much away from us that we're losing our help. So our department staffing levels right now, we have chief, assistant chief, 3 battalion chiefs, 3 lieutenants, 6 engineers, 6 firefighters, and 1 senior firefighter. Station 1 has a lieutenant, an engineer, and a firefighter working at it. Station 2 has a battalion chief, an engineer, and a firefighter. On staff now, we still have, we have 1 lieutenant volunteer, 8 engineers on the volunteer side, and 4 firefighters is what we have staffing wise. So this gives us a breakdown of our calls for 2025. We had 29 actual structure fires in the district, our district. We had 69 related calls, which would be fire alarms and things of that nature. We averaged 6 career staff and 1 volunteer on each one of those calls. 2024, we had 25 structure fires, 61 fire alarms, 5 career and 2 volunteers. 2023, we had 29, 48, 5 career and 2 volunteers. 2022, you can see the numbers change as the year. Structure fires in 2022 was 41, 40 fire alarms, 5 career and 2. So I just wanted to put those numbers in there to show you what we're actually getting from our department on scenes. So we were asked back in the 2024 budget to give y'all plans and goals set up by the fire department. So I put this back in here. In 2024, we wanted to hire 3 engineers, which we did. We completed and asked for 3 senior firefighters. That didn't pan out then. So in 3 years from now, which would be next year, we wanted 2 fire engineers, the grant for a new ladder truck and the grant for the SCBA's. We have actually put in for those this year, the Don Davis grant for the ladder truck, and then the Alan Chester grant for the SCBA's. Our 5-year projection was hire 3 more fire engineers, 3 more firefighters to staff a ladder truck, place an order for a new engine that would replace the 2018 engine that we have, and look at the growth for Station 3. 8 years out, Station 3, hire 3 captains, hire 3 engineers, hire 3 senior firefighters and 3 firefighters, and 10 was purchase land for Station 4. Those are all projections. You don't ever know what the growth's going to be. Take some places that are out here. Youngsville, for example, I talked with one of their board of directors last week. They have 3 stations now. They are actually now in the process of Station 4 and Station 5. So that's how fast they're growing. Johnson County is the same way. The way the counties are growing and it's moving out, it's eventually going to get to us. It's happening a whole lot now in the southern part of the county, in the Middlesex Bailey area. So we have to look at these projected growths. I mean, when you're looking at, we've still got Cardinal to build out. We've still got the Birchwood that's on line to come with what Robbie wants to do with that out there. That's what's happening around the town and in the county with the fire service. I did ask, when we were looking at projected numbers, I asked for 5 more people this year in the budget. After talking with Mr. Lansing, we dropped it down to 2. That would be 2 more engineers to put on shift. We are still losing people to these other districts where we're paying out more money. One of our firefighters that has actually left and gone to a fire department was not even in the local government retirement system. They're offering, starting out, 12 to 13% in his 401k. So he is actually going down, but his starting salary, I want to say, is like $69,000 to $70,000 is what they're starting out at in Johnston County. So, talked with Smithfield Fire Chief last week. He just was able to put on some more staff, but he's asked for 9 more firefighters this year because of their growth in Smithfield. So that's where we're at on this.
What is our, in your future plans, what is our proposed location for Station 3?
It would be on the south side. on the south side of the district because of our growth and our response time out that way. If you look at what we've got, but that could change. But right now, that would be where I would say I've talked with several folks. Scott Rogers, who used to work with the county, who's retired now. I've had several conversations. He is actually the one that sat down and went back through the numbers with me again in 2018 to confirm where Station 2 should have been, because in 2009, that's where it said it should have been, and in 2018, it was the same thing. So I talked with Scott about working with me on looking at exactly where to go. But I will say on for Jason Glover's side too, we're going to need to look at another water tower for this town too with the growth because of that size over there and what happened earlier this year. You know, we need another tower so we can make sure we still have water for accurate fire protection, but also drinking water. So, but that's what I see. We're looking at it, but I want to do it and make sure we make the right decision on where Station 3 will need to go. Station 3 also would not be a station like Station 2. Station 3 is going to need to be more of a residential type home, which would not be as much money as what we're building on these other stations because it's more residential looking. The good thing about that is if you build a station like that, when it comes time for more growth and you might have to move that station, you've got a residential home now that you can sell. So a little bit bigger footprint, but people would buy it because you still set it up as a house. So is where it would be. Rocky Mount has several stations that are that way, and that's because they're residential areas. So looking at it from that standpoint. Questions?
Have you been able to replace the fire that left yet?
We are working on the process right now of trying to get that done. We've had some applications come in. I think we've had 9 applications so far. So we'll start that process next week. And we'll get the roll call on that and see where we go from there. All right.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
And you went from requesting 5 to 2?
Yes, sir.
The Easter Bunny.
You see the money?
Easter Bunny.
It can be,
That's
has been.
That's the real Easter Bunny there.
Okay.
Well, good morning. So this is the budget presentation for the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Department, which includes fiscal year 26 accomplishments as well as identified needs for fiscal year 27. I'm going to try to be brief. I know you have a lot of information to consume today. So these are the funds that we're going to be talking about today that fall under the Parks and Rec umbrella. I'm going to try to refer to them as their name rather than the number, but those are public facilities, recreation, farmers market, and then the cemetery. So in your packet, and I also emailed it out on Friday, we had a fiscal year 26 report that covered activities year to date for our department. I do have some extra copies if anybody needs one. I don't want to be dismissive of these activities and accomplishments, and I want to give our staff credit. Our small but mighty team has been very busy this year, and I think the numbers reflect that. I think it was the first budget I went through working for the town that one of the goals that the council set at that time was Parks and Recreation, and I feel like we continue to meet that goal, and that's something that the council should be proud of. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, again, because I'm trying to be conscious of your time, but I will pause if you have any questions related to any of the fiscal year 26 information. And you can always ask me anytime. I do want to point out the save the dates on the last page as well, because that's some of the stuff that we have coming up very, very soon, with the first one being that egg sighting Saturday, this Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. sharp. If there are no questions, I'll move forward.
Well, okay, one question.
Yes,
So
sir.
the farmer's market, I guess that doesn't include vendor, that includes just what we made.
Correct.
Kind of misleading number.
Talking about for the revenues.
Yeah.
Correct. That revenue is what the town collects from vendor fees. This is on the bottom of page 1 of that report, farmers market revenue.
Okay, so the 1,400 is the vendor fees.
Correct. And then a lot of the POS, the point of sale, would be like the farmers market hats and t-shirts and that type of thing, which is 490 feet. Any other questions? All right, so for public facilities, this is where the town budgets the majority of our maintenance and utilities for all the town facilities. That fund includes one full-time parks and facility maintenance supervisor and one 20-hour-a-week custodian. As far as for fiscal year 27, we had minor changes that were requested in the budget just to account for rising maintenance, utility, and supply costs. This is where the majority of capital projects are budgeted for the town, and we have lots of potential projects this year, which I will cover on a later slide for us to go through. And I think this is probably an appropriate point for me to point out the IT. So we rely heavily on VC3. Chris Aycock and myself, we do have a monthly meeting with them where we try to stay abreast of everything that's going on, what they see on the horizon for the town, and ask questions to make sure we understand. I don't want to call myself an IT guru because I am not. We rely very heavily on VC3 for our IT needs. The next slide, recreation. So this is where all of our programs and events are budgeted, except for the farmers market. Full-time staffing includes myself and the administrative assistant. Part-time includes a permanent part-time, which is between 20 and 30-hour-a-week program supervisor. Then we have two 20-hour-a-week parks maintenance workers that help with maintenance both for our recreation facilities and the cemetery. And then we have 2 environmental educators and 11 recreation aides. And I know that sounds like a lot of staff. For the recreation aides and environmental educators, we budget that a total of 40 hours per week average for all 13 of those positions. So with a lot of our special events and stuff, we need a lot of boots on the ground, a lot of help for a short period of time. But the total number of hours don't add up to a lot. As far as changes for fiscal year 27, we were projecting some increases just for rising supply, material cost, and instructor costs, and just for the sheer number of programs that we're doing. The good thing about that, more programs equals more revenue. So in theory, it should be a net zero impact to the budget because you have revenues and expenses going up together. Next, we have the farmers market budget. Here we have one 20-hour-a-week market manager that is budgeted here. And then we also do budgets some additional part-time hours to assist with special event days and working the information station or the little trailer there. The only difference from last year to this year that we're requesting is some funds for some additional picnic tables there. And one other thing I do want to point out about this fund, the past 3 years, I think the council has budgeted about $10,000 in contract services. That's what we use for entertainment at the market, mainly music, or if we have a phone party or something like that. We are able to leverage that money, some of the grants that were in that report, to get additional funds to go with that. So we have the grassroots arts program, program that we get funds through Nash Arts for music, and then we were also able to get 10,000 from TDA last year, the Nash County Tourism Development Authority for music. So we try to spread those dollars out as far as we can. Again, I will leave these here, but these are hot off the press for our upcoming live music events at the market as well. And we do plan on applying for those TDA funds again this year for the same thing. Last, for the Forest Hills Cemetery. This is where we have one full-time position budgeted, a parks maintenance tech, which we have just recently made an offer, waiting on somebody to go through all the pre-employment screenings to get fully staffed back there. Changes for fiscal year 27, we are requesting a new pickup truck there. We had a used vehicle that we had purchased from Emerald Isle a couple years ago that has played out on us. We are currently using a borrowed vehicle from Public Works, which we are very appreciative of, but it's not in the best condition, so we are requesting a new vehicle there. We just recently, in the past couple weeks, completed some paving there. If that's one of the priorities for the council, there are still some rough sections of the existing paving there that we could look at redoing. And then there was also a request from a citizen for us to look at doing paving, curb and gutter in the newest section, which would be behind the, if you're familiar with the cemetery, behind the building towards where the dirt pile used to be. We have moved that dirt pile to the back, and then kind of stubbing up a new road that heads that direction towards 64. Which brings us to our last slide, and this is where I wanted to spend the majority of time today. This is where we have identified needs and potential projects for fiscal year 27. I completely acknowledge this is a lot of capital, more than the town can do in 1 year. But again, this is things that we've identified, things that have been brought up by citizens. So I wanted to put it all in one place and just talk through some of these projects, if any of them are a priority of the council for fiscal year 27. And I can go through those one at a time, or if you have questions about any of them specifically, we can go that route.
I just have a question.
Okay.
Why are chairs in council chamber visual upgrades, flooring in town hall under Parks and Rec?
So
Just start the top and go through.
okay.
And explain.
And I will clarify, so with that public facilities line item,
Okay.
that's where all of those projects are budgeted for the town as a whole. And Chris Acock, which is our Parks and Facility Maintenance Supervisor, kind of oversees those projects as well. That's kind of why it falls under here. It's a little unique. So the security cameras there at the top, one more thing I want to point out, normally how we do these to get a number, I'll get one quote from a company, and then if it's budgeted, we'll get 3 and of course go through the purchasing requirements of the town. So it could potentially go down, but this was just to get one camera at Stony Creek Park in the parking lot itself. One of the things we're looking at in that Cardiff grant is also putting some funds in there for some additional cameras. And at Glover Park, that was actually one camera that's kind of watching the splash pad area and a license plate reader on Memorial Drive, Glover Park Memorial Drive, to catch any license plates of people going in and out of there. Of course, the chairs in council chambers are a little dated. The bar on the back of these chairs, the welds keep popping on them. Probably notice there's a lot less in here than there used to be. Once they do that, we throw them away. It's a safety concern. So just looking at replacing those. And again, it's one of those things where we could buy a certain number a year or try to get a lot at once. Flooring, police and fire department. So from the restrooms towards the fire department side, our custodian has went in there and waxed the floors on the police side. He did not want to go towards the fire department side because the tiles are chipping up. He said that machine is just going to eat them up. So if we want to be able to clean the floor better, we're looking at replacing those tiles there to be able to do it. New road in the cemetery, we already touched on. That's that curb and gutter and stubbing up that road from the building to the dirt pile.
Question on that.
Yes, sir.
So would that bring in additional revenue for sales, selling lots or not?
It would not.
No.
No. With that new section, and we are looking at this year making a gravel road on the back side of the building towards the dirt pile on that side, just because where we have that new section that's a little bit further down the hill, there is a little bit of an access problem there when you are trying to get close to those sections and bringing in the vault and everything. This would be on the uphill side. We've got curb and gutter on one side of the street, not on the other. And again, just stubbing up that road for future sections, future growth. Council chambers visual, again, we just updated the audio system, which we've worked out a few kinks in it, but I think we've got it pretty good now. We're just looking to upgrade this lovely park projector screen system you have in front of you. And again, that's kind of flexible. We were thinking about going more with monitors and multiple monitors in here. Glover Park parking lot. This one's been one we've been asked about a couple times. That would be paving and lining that parking lot. We did look at, trying to do some different things there as far as doing just parking berms down the middle, which is still an option. That to get enough parking berms, the cost was around $7,000 to do that. Without lines, I think it would help some. I don't know how much of an impact it would have. The other issue is the spacing. I believe we would have to take out that row of arborvitae trees between Glover Memorial Drive and the parking lot to get that additional footage to have room to add those two rows back in the middle. That's how the plans show it when Glover Park was built in 2002. They planted those trees, and where they've grown wider, that 5 foot makes a difference as far as the required spacing there to have those two rows in the middle.
Well, they would have to be taken down whether we pave and line.
Correct.
Or put the berms in, right?
Either way, it would.
And then is there enough right of way to have something there like that or no?
You might be able to do some smaller bushes. I think we do have water. I know we have water utility, and I think we have underground utility lines. And per our ordinance, we try to stay, we have to stay 5 foot away from those. But you could potentially do some smaller bushes, probably not trees.
If we could find out how much profit the county made on these programs, they might help us do that, do you think?
I think it's definitely worth an ask if they're willing to share some of the cost of these. And I do have a placeholder on the April 15th budget for Thomas to come with that report that y'all requested. But I think some of those projects that relate to Glover Park, it's worth an ask of what we can do there. Splash pad elements, that was the additional elements combined as a total. Of course, we can break those down into smaller chunks, which is kind of what we had talked about
That was gonna be
doing.
one of my questions. So is that 75 to like fully laying
Correct.
out the entire splash pad?
Correct.
Okay, so then we could break it up a little bit.
We can break it up, and I think the cheapest elements that we requested were around 8,000, and the most expensive was around 20. So anywhere in that
Those
window.
water panels, so.
Yes. And, my thoughts on that one, again, I wanted to include it here with the splash pad being new, all of it being new the first season. I think it would be appropriate to wait and add an element next season. Let the new wear off of all the ones we have. But again, that's up to council what your priorities are there. Plumbing issue at the rec center. So anytime we put a lot of people in the facility, our sewer is getting clogged. Again, thankfully, Public Works is able to jet the lines and clear that out for us. But it's a common occurrence. The reason that doesn't have a price next to it is we're still trying to work on what the fix would be and what the cost would be there.
Do we know the cause? Other than just,
We're not 100% sure of the cause. You know, they've televised a line. I think it's just where you have those 3 restrooms going into one line that's older, and it goes all the way across the floor and then down to Church Street is where the sewer runs. But I can't point to the exact cause.
But our renters for the facility are clogging everything up like they do at the prison.
The rentals or anytime, you know, thankfully we've learned and we do preventative flushing before any large event. And then of course, we have the number posted and Public Works has been good to come if we have an issue during a weekend event or rental. But again, that's a cost to the town and of course an inconvenience to those people using the facility or our events. Lighting at Glover Park, that is the price that we received recently, which is actually down from the one I got back in 2023, to add lights to the other 2 ball diamonds and the soccer field. You know, with lights being added at Miracle Park, I think we're going to see more of the tournaments probably move that direction unless we add lights. Again, I do think that's one that's worth a discussion with the county. If the council wants to pursue it, we can pursue some options, maybe splitting that cost.
How many for the ones out at Miracle Park, the lighting?
I would have to check if that was grant funded or if it was just through the county's general fund.
I think the soccer fields has been a long time coming, and that's something that would definitely benefit Nashville residents. But the baseball, we have enough to service our citizens, but really that would be the tournaments of the county that are going to get the greatest gain out of those.
Windscreens, this is just to help play pickleball. It's a screen that goes on the fencing there. Small cost, but it helps the ball fly straighter. I haven't got that request, but I promise as soon as we get those open, that's going to be a request coming. Redundant internet service at Police Fire Town Hall. So right now we are with Ripple Fiber. Anytime the internet goes down, we're dead in the water, which seems to be frequently this past year. One of the things that the county does, one of the things that VC3 had recommended that we could do is get that redundant service there. And it would be with a different provider. If we ever lose internet on one, it'll automatically switch over to the other one and we don't have any downtime at those facilities. This is the cost for that additional service on an annual basis if the council chose to move forward with that. And with internet service, pointing out Wi-Fi, that was one of the services that CloudWise had provided to us for free through their cloud-based service. They are no longer providing that. That is not something that Ripple picked up. Again, it's blank next to it because I do not know, I haven't found anybody that can even service that area to get a price if that's something we wanted to add back.
Do you have any feedback on how often that would be used?
I don't. We always assumed that we've got a lot of traffic, people sitting down there during lunchtime and everything. We assumed they were using the free Wi-Fi, but they're still there and it's not working. We've only got one call about it so far that it's not working. And we also provide it at Glover Park. So we do have an option for Glover Park here in the parking lot. So other options for free
offering
Wi-Fi.
those to other 2 places here and
Glover Park,
I don't
yes.
think it's Wi-Fi you're looking for. Yeah,
Quiet place to have their lunch.
if you want to put it that way, yeah, okay. We'll leave it right there.
The Water Resources Development Grant, again, that's just needing to be budgeted as a project. It's a reimbursement grant, so just throwing it up here to show what needs to be budgeted for.
15 seconds, what is that?
That is the grant we received to do the bio retention area at the 48 acres abutting Stony Creek Park and the invasive species removal of that project. We haven't spent any of the funds yet and didn't plan to until the new fiscal year. Lights at Stony Creek, this was a price to re-lamp all of the large lights there. We have quite a few of them out. A lot of this cost is renting the truck. Nash County is relamping a lot of parks around the county, including Glover Park. We did get a price from them, see if we could jump on while there was a truck and a company in town. If we did it this fiscal year, you're looking at about $5,000, which we would have to either budget or find the funds for. Demolished 502, that is the house behind the police fire complex on Body Street. And then these last three that didn't have a price next to them, again, we did some paving in both of those areas this year, around $20,000 for each. There is some more that can be done if that's a priority. And same with flooring in Town Hall. The carpet is getting to the point where Aaron can't clean it well. It's a little dingy looking. So to replace it, with either an LVP or a carpet tile, should be relatively inexpensive. I wouldn't have a price on it yet. Any questions for me?
Any questions?
Do you need a full-size truck or an S1050?
So we do have 3 employees there currently that work and ride together, so it would be nice to be 4-door. Other than that, a smaller, pickup should be fine. We don't need anything really large.
We could do these, right?
We can, which is what we did before with Emerald Isle, that didn't really pan out for us. I have talked with Jason Glover from Public Works to see if maybe one of their trucks that they are replacing this year could potentially meet our needs. Better than the one we're borrowing now.
Thanks.
Brandon, what kind of numbers are we looking at for a new truck? 'Cause I'm thinking in my head, they can get something at a discounted price from chapter 4. What kind of money we talking about for a truck?
Yeah, sheriff's sale price for a half-ton pickup is probably around 38,000.
Yeah, that 41 I put in here was looking at the 4-door options on the state contract. One last thing I want to mention, not related to the budget, but our Stony Creek master plan that we've been working on. I have a draft agenda item on April 15th for that to come to council. I have the draft, should have the draft ready today and plan on sending it out early because it is a large document. If anybody wants it in a paper copy, just let me know and we can print it, but it is over 100 pages, so you may want it just in digital form.
Thank you for everything.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Next is Public Works. Okay, that'll be good.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. So I come before you today for the fiscal year 2026 review and future planning. As Public Works, we have fleet maintenance. We like to keep the town moving. Sanitation departments and the yard waste. We do a lot of debris removal. Street department is infrastructure and safety. And water and sewer is the essential resources management. So we like to be a good stewards to our environment and our resources. Some of the accomplishments this past year was we maintained a diverse and robust inventory of heavy equipment, municipal vehicles, and small engines. I take my hat off to Kevin Taylor. He's a guru, whether it's a large piece of machinery or whether it's a weed eater. We've got it covered there. We built a new shelter out there, so we have our new inventory shelter. We focus on technical proficiencies. Kevin's always kind of leading the edge when it comes to technology. With the street department, we did a lot of proactive pavement. We used quality patching. Every time we had a utility cut, we always did the proper patching. We inspected and kept the pedestrians' walkways, eliminating tripping hazards and ensuring safety. We're fixing to get right back into our sidewalk program, focusing more on our downtown area, the Blooming Festival route. So we conducted clearing of stormwater ditches to improve the drainage efficiency. We provided 24/7 snow and ice removal this year. So we removed quite a bit of snow and ice. There was several Sundays back to back where we did that. Thank you. We delivered comprehensive logistical support ensuring the success of the annual Blooming Festival. Under the water and sewer, we ensured an uninterrupted delivery of high-quality potable water to residents, commercial, and industry partners, supporting both public health and local economy growth. We identified over 30 significant water leaks, with the most catastrophic one being over there on Brake Street. Kind of backing on what Chris said, and we'll talk about a little bit more, is we turned over our water storage 1.5 times with just that one leak. So 1.5 times, 1.5 million gallons is what we estimated that leak. So that's our water storage 1.5 times. If we had a structure fire at the same time, our distribution system, water distribution system, would not have been able to maintain. During that event, I kept close contact with Chris, and I think he had provided some additional resources if we were to have a structure fire to come in and they would have to tanker it all in and stuff. Completed the relining of over 200 manholes, aggressively targeting I&I, inflow and infiltration, to reduce the unnecessary wastewater treatment costs that we're sending to Rocky Mountain. Successfully initiated a critical sewer infrastructure project. That's your Regency Drive and Essex Roads neighborhood. And also, we've done the new water main going to First Street Extension down Red Oak Road. So those are great accomplishments on our water and sewer division. On sanitation, we acquired that semi-automatic refuge truck to streamline the collections routes. We went from 2 people having to be on the garbage truck to just 1. So we've automated that process just a little bit. We did town-wide removal.
Going back, says that going well, that was a good decision.
That was a great decision. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Have we made any adjustments on that new truck? So we'll stop tearing up the garbage container?
The containers that are designed and made for an automatic garbage truck are holding up well. The containers that are not made for that are not holding up. So in the 27 budget, I've identified that, and we're gonna look at replacing some of our older trash cans that are not designed for that truck.
Has any ground been broke on the sewer fallout lines for the Essex Road and the Regency?
No, sir. Essex Road, we're waiting for.
Have we done anything?
Well, we're gonna have a pre-construction meeting on Regency coming up here, probably the first of next week, because we get the thumbs up from NCDEQ to go ahead. Essex Road, we haven't. We're still waiting for NCDEQ staff to approve that portable Thompson pump in exchange for putting new equipment in the old Surrey lift station that we took offline. So Mike Tolson, he's still communicating with NCDEQ staff about that, and I haven't heard from him anymore about it since last week. But we did 400 Essex Road. We had to pump the septic tank again, so that's 3rd time now. But, it gets her about 2 months every time we have to do that.
Hopefully we'll start those projects very soon. We've maintained Nashville's small town charm through proactive litter pickup, and we have partnered with local organizations to provide a seamless sanitation logistics for the Blooming Festival. So setting up the garbage trucks and making sure the Blooming Festival is garbage free. Just going to identify some of our FY 2027 budget needs. Nashville has transitioned from a quiet little county seat to a growing hub in the region. As the town of Nashville continues to experience steady residential and commercial growth, the demands on our public infrastructure have increased with it. Our population, as Chris kind of talked about your rooftops, has grown steadily at an annual rate of 1.63%, surpassing the 5,850 residents as of 2024-2025. And that number is coming from a Google search. To keep the high standards of service, Public Works must scale alongside Nashville's growth. So with our fleet maintenance divisions and our street divisions and stormwater budgets, I'm projecting a minor increase. I'm projecting a minor increase in funds with street and stormwater or limited non-discretionary costs, ensuring we support our current level of service despite the rising industry-wide material and supplies costs. And that is coming from the oil, to change the oil in the police cars, to the DEF fluids going up, to just basic maintenance. Oil filters are going up. Everything that we have that we're using in these three departments are going up. Percentages may vary, but we have to kind of scale along with it. For the sanitation fund, I'm requesting a 25% increase in equipment maintenance funding to address the rising service demands of our aging fleet. And in this, we're not talking about the new one-arm bandit, we're talking about the Triple C, which is our backup truck that we keep having some mechanical issues with, as well as our rear packer. The rear packer is what we use to do our bulk pickup on every Friday. Let me get to my slide here, I'm sorry. Oops, I'm going the wrong way now. There we go. I propose a 25% increase in the essential supplies to continue the systematic replacement of our aging residential trash cans, Mr. Taylor. And that's gonna get rid of those old trash cans that we keep having problems with. They're just not designed to be picked up like we're picking them up with that one-arm bandit. Capital request is approximately $340,000 for an ODB leaf collection truck. This purchase replaces our older unit that has suffered multiple mechanical failures over the past year. Investing in our modern, reliable equipment is essential for maintaining the collection schedule and meeting our residents' expectations.
How old is that new truck being away?
It's almost 10 years old, I believe. I can get you the exact date.
That's okay, I was just.
Would it get anything if we were to sell it?
We could sell it.
Keep it for a backup.
That was kind of gonna be my thing, is keep it for a backup for another year or two, just to see. But we could look at even trading it in with ODB. They do offer something, but I think our bang for buck would be minimal versus just keeping it as a backup. So, on the water sewer administrative fund, I'd like to request $25,000 to replace the fence around the Public Works facility. It is in terrible shape. If you ride down Bass Drive, a lot of it's leaning. It provides minimal security for some of our nice equipment in there. And it will be more aesthetically pleasing to our neighbors. We're going to increase the training budget to provide the director Seawell class, as well as the transportation research and training education classes that myself and several other employees will go to. Some classes will focus on snow and ice control, asphalt maintenance, work zone safety, and emergency management for Public Works. On our water fund, we're going to do a critical infrastructure request funding for a system-wide rehabilitation, including the replacement of 10 strategic valves to ensure that the system isolation during repairs to minimize our customer interruptions. We had to essentially shut the whole town down from the water leak that we had this past winter. That is unacceptable in my standards. We should be able to valve off certain areas. However, every valve we went to was broken or not working or wouldn't work all the way. So we could not do that. Upgrade 4 high priority fire hydrants to ensure reliable flow rates and immediate readiness for emergency fire suppression. If you look in the corner right here, this is Washington Street downtown, 2-story residential structures, and I don't have an adequate fire hydrant. And that's been there since my first go around with Nashville. So identifying that, making sure that we get some of those 4 hydrants replaced that we've identified. Adjusting the FY27 budget to account for the mandated now 15% increase in bulk water rates for the city of Rocky Mount, ensuring our operational funding is still aligned with our regional wholesale water costs. As of Thursday of last week, Rocky Mount had a special call meeting. Their Director of Water Resources proposed a 15% water and 15% sewer increase for wholesale customers. That in itself, along with any needs that we have, is going to be astronomical. And this is going to happen, if they vote tonight, this will take effect April 1st. Through my calculations, talking with Tressa, we could see a $90,000 increase just in the remaining 3 months of this budget year that we have not budgeted for and are not prepared for. $90,000, and that's just good round numbers based on what we're using now.
I think we can dig another well for less than $9,000.
Yeah, but, you know, when a well only does 125 gallons a minute, it's not gonna come anywhere close to
How many
covering
wells do we need?
Yeah.
13 the last time I
How many?
calculated.
13
You need 13
Total or additional?
total.
total.
Yeah, and that would be most of them
We
running
have 2
all
right
day,
now.
every day.
Number two.
Correct.
So we're talking about 12 new.
13 to totally get rid of, or just to do better?
13, and we could look at doing away. Now, that's not taking into consideration the growth that we're expected to experience in the next 3 to 5 years. So it's 13 today, in 3 years it could be 16, in 5 years it could be 20.
And on average, they cost how much to dig it up there?
Probably $500,000.
Purchase land, engineering fees, and then digging it. And then we hope we don't run into a situation we did on Cook Road where we dig a well and it's
It's no good.
correct.
Well, we have been lucky.
Yes, ma'am.
What
And
about
there's
Wilson?
nothing we can do with sewer.
How far away from Wilson's pipeline?
Quite a long ways.
58 Bridge.
Huh?
58
58
bridge.
Bridge.
Are there any other options?
Nash County, but they get their water
They
through.
get their water through Rocky Mount.
So we can pay even more.
So they don't, they
So
don't
they go
charge,
up for Rocky Mount?
they don't charge 15% to make their profit.
So we'll pay them there instead.
I like to frame it as the Rocky Mount's bad misfortune is gonna affect the entire region. Because not only is Nashville gonna have to go up, Nash County will have to go up, Whitaker's will have to go up, Sharpsburg will have to go up, and Edgecombe County will have to go
Their
up.
rate, the increase is gonna be the same for everybody, it's my understanding.
Bulk wholesalers, which we are in all municipalities, is 15% is what's proposed. And then they've also proposed to raise the rates on their residential consumers or customers as well
In Rocky Mount.
in Rocky Mount. That's starting April 1st. And this is 15% water and 15% sewer.
That's right.
So
30%.
30%. Yes, ma'am. Budget projections from our 2027 budget have been recalibrated to address the notified vendor price increases ranging from 3 to 9%. So all of our vendors we've reached out to, our chem keys, our chemicals to run our wells, our brass, our repair clamps, our pipe to replace stuff, or replace water lines with, a 3 to 9% increase next year. Requesting essential funding for the renovation of Well House 6 to address the longstanding deferred maintenance. And this is going to be this top well house up here. We have the doors, the windows rotting out here. Aesthetically, it looks terrible. We have a lot of rot there. If you look on the inside of the well house, where we take the samples, the inside walls are starting to rot. We did some quotes and got some numbers back. We're looking probably $35,000 to do this one, and then we'll come back next year and do well number 7. Requesting what Corey was talking about, requesting to schedule replacement unit 101 and 116. There are two 2010 F-150 pickup trucks. These trucks are 16 years old. A new truck would improve fuel efficiency and reduce emergency repair costs. Corey has kind of identified truck 101. I don't know if y'all remember, it's a Ford F-150 4-door. That's the former director Jamie's old pickup truck. It needs to be replaced, but I think it has a little bit of life left in it. We could, surplus that to Coy if we were looking at getting one. Unit 101 really needs to be replaced with a full-size truck. four-door, full-size, four-wheel drive truck. Unit 116, we are looking at replacing that with like a mid-size, something like an S10, a Colorado, something that will be more fuel efficient. That's gonna be a truck that we use to ride around and check our wells, lift stations, and so on and so forth.
Well, before you go on, back to the first one, these, valves, are any of these valves under the road ready to pave on Washington Street?
Not the strategically ones that we've picked, no, sir, no, sir. A lot of these valves are gonna be more like closer to your residential areas. They help us divide and be able to isolate for water main breaks. A lot of our big valves, we have a 12-inch main that kind of runs up through Piggly Wiggly and then kind of comes down Church Street. We feel pretty confident we can isolate that. It's just when we start getting into our outskirts and some of our in-city or in downtown area. But none of the valves that we have identified are going to be in the paving project. All right, with the sewer fund, adjust the FY budget to account for the now 15% increase in the bulk sewer rates for the city of Rocky Mount, ensuring our operational funding is still aligned with the regional wholesale costs. Continue a multi-year I&I reduction initiative specializing in targeting in the rehab of sewer manholes, mains, and pump stations to prevent groundwater from entering the system. So if groundwater enters the system, we pay for that groundwater to be treated. So the best thing for us to do is keep it out, especially with a 15% increase.
I thought we had took care of that last year.
It's ongoing. Yes,
It's
sir.
so much work.
So in the
Never
top,
done in 1 year.
this right here is a picture of what we're doing currently and what we'd like to continue to do. They go in there and they put this epoxy in there, and what it does is it lines that manhole to keep any water from getting in. I&I is money just going down the sewer system.
Do we have a side-by-side of what we're saving now that we've been doing that? Like if we do 2024 versus 25?
I've done a little bit of a cost analysis through a spreadsheet, taking into consideration rainfall, water usage, and what we're sending back. And I can tell over the course of the past year or so that we are making progress. However, it's not going to happen overnight. This is going to be a multi-year project, but we are making progress. Versus if you look at July of 2025, or July of 2024 versus July of 2025, with the rainfall and everything, we sent less water and we had the same amount of rainfall. So that's something that we look at, and we also take into account how much water we purchased, how much water we produce in our wells, and then send that back. But I can get a copy of that for y'all if you'd like.
So the savings that we were making on this line this manhole, was 15%. We're not gonna be able to see any savings at all. But we're gonna save on our end, then we got to take it back, pay it back to Rocky Mountain.
Unfortunately, yes, sir.
But we didn't do it no more.
I mean, at some point, you're always gonna have some I&I. No, there's no, if you put a brand new system in tomorrow,
You still have some.
it's gonna have some. But we're doing a great job of tightening up our system to keep the cost as low as we can for the citizens of Nashville. You know, we can't control what Rocky Mount's gonna do. I'd like to establish an emergency inventory by obtaining a dedicated backup pump for each municipal lift station to ensure immediate restoration of service in case of a mechanical failure. We have identified, we have 12 lift stations. We don't need to buy 12 pumps. We have one pump that could use as a backup for multiple lift stations, but definitely secure the funding for those. The acquisition of an added high-capacity bypass pump. The other day, we had the sewer line break because of the tree falling on it. If we had another high-capacity backup bypass pump with 1,000 foot of pipe, we could have reacted in-house. So just kind of preparing and planning to do that. The replacement of the broken guide rails, brackets, float assemblies to ensure that the pump alignment and automated level control within the collection system. This is another thing that we're doing to look at reducing cost. If we can have a good, adequate float system in all of our pump stations, we can reduce our electrical costs There's no needing the pump to run if it doesn't need to run. We have storage capacity, that's what they're designed for. So I don't need them running all the time or drawing it down too low. So that's another way we can add a little bit of savings. And then on the sewer fund, request for scheduled replacement of unit 135, which is a 2006 Ford F-150. This truck is 20 years old, so it will improve fuel efficiency and reduce the emergency repair expenditures on that as well. Personnel needs, just kind of summarize this. I kind of, did a long justification. The town is growing. We need to grow. Public Works needs to grow with the town. I'm going to request 2 personnel. They're maintenance technician level 2s. These positions, Winfield, the employees can work independently. They should have a little bit of experience in water and sewer and be able to respond to some of these repairs and breaks that we have. We've got a lot of infrastructure that is aging and is going to need to be replaced in the near future. And this personnel will help respond to any kind of breaks, leaks, and so on and so forth. I did do, and I didn't get this in your packet, but I do want to go over and address, I did a CIP, a capital project, sort of like what Chris was talking about. And since he mentioned it, I'm definitely going to back up on it, is the $2.8 million for a new 500,000 gallon water tower. What we were talking about before, 1.5 times our storage we turned over with one water leak, and that was a major leak. It was catastrophic, but 1.5 times the water storage. So we definitely need some more water storage in the town. It's just, if we go to flushing a couple fire hydrants in the town, we can start seeing the tanks drop. And we just need to really look at what we can do, not this year, but maybe budget some engineering fees, try to acquire some land in the next year. So
Where would it need to be?
kind of in the same location that Chris was talking about, maybe the Nash Central Middle School, that area of the town. That's where we could create a triangle with our water towers, and it will be best for our distribution system.
Jason, we don't really know what the splash pad is gonna do to the head pressure either, do we?
We do not. We don't know what the water usage is gonna be, what the water volume is gonna be, and what kind of residual pressure we're gonna have, or residual loss we're gonna have with that. So, any questions?
Didn't the engineers say that we had enough infrastructure to support that splash pad before we move forward with it?
I'm pretty sure we have enough infrastructure. It's just the residual flows from, just don't know.
I wanted the water pad, splash pad off the bad, but I didn't want it bad enough to take the pressure away from the residents.
Think about it this way, you got 248 houses going back in there too.
Correct.
That's where I'm coming from, with the head pressure from that
Okay, all right.
usage.
Any other questions? Thank y'all so much.
Thank you so much, Jason, for your good job. Next, we have the planning department. Is it an exact too? Yeah, now what you take, we need to dress on. No, me.
Unsustainable, unsustainable. We are at their mercy, like, there has to be something that we can do.
I mean, they're trying to gain every bit of real estate back
Yes.
from the communities around us.
That's right.
I'm one of their electric customers too.
So you can get your insurance.
And you know, it's gonna happen come election time, they're all.
Okay.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. So glad to be here as always. We're just going to go over the accomplishments and the proposal for the planning department for this year's budget.
And let's don't talk about no damn storage units.
We're going to try our best not to mention that today, sir. Quickly, code enforcement activity, as you guys know, Mr. Jones has been working very diligently. Here are her numbers as of today: 142 nuisance case, 5 junk motor vehicles. She did 35 chronic violators. Our chronic violators are the ones who get cited 3 times in a calendar year. After that third strike, you get a letter from the town saying, if we come to your property, see this in violation of town ordinance, we automatically send our vendor over there to clean the property. 30 zoning violations. Majority of them come from a lot of our new residents who just aren't aware of fence permits and accessory buildings. So we've been doing a lot of education, sending stuff out. The front desk finance department's been good. When people come apply for water as a new customer, we get a chance to come and tell them, hey, you're gonna do a shed, fence, come by the town, let's talk about it, see how we can help you out. 12 front yard parking violations, we are seeing them go down, but you still see them lingering around at Woodfield subdivision sometimes. So there's starting to be numbers going down on that. 8 abandoned structure cases and 1 minimum housing cases. We also sent out 72 abatement invoices, and we do, as council always asks us to do when we do a nuisance abatement, once we clean it, we put the lien on the property and bill the owner. Once the owner pays the bill, the lien is taken off. If not, the lien stays on with the life of the property. This is just a workload of how we've been looking all season on our bar chart. Permit and license, 167 zoning permits issued as of today. Majority of them are either accessory buildings or single-family dwellings. As Chief pointed out in his presentation, Cardinal Woods is doing great. Harvest Creek down there on Bree Love is doing great. So those two are really turning permits. 48 sign permits, 6 fence permits, which we're starting to see an increase on those. The biggest one is 36 peddlers permits. As you know, the town did adopt a fee last year for peddlers permits. We were just not getting that many. We are seeing a heavy increase now. People lease peddlers soliciting. Our town clerk does good putting information on the Facebook page for these companies who come in just doing cable internet stuff to let them know if you are going to be door-to-door soliciting, come by the town hall to get your permit. So we seen an increase on that. Food trucks have kind of gone down this year, not what we expect, but when it's being springtime, we know the Vino market downtown do a lot of stuff, so we should see them going up. Same thing at Park Ground.
Reduce the cost on those permits? Like give you a yearly instead of a...
Yes, we did do the yearly one. We only had one person apply for the yearly one. She was the operator at the old store over there behind Braswell Milling, the green store. Used to be a convenience store. Now it is a Hispanic mini mart. She applied for a yearly one, and she's already did her 50 bids. So she's told me that business went well. She's coming back to apply for another one probably by the end of this month, she said. TRC, as you know, we restructured the TRC. Our TRC kind of met as an as-needed basis. Now we have a standing meeting every 4th Monday at 1 p.m. is where the TRC meets. Some main things the TRC accomplished this year that we kind of helped in stewardship along with Town Manager Lansing, UNC Medical Center, the Nash Arts rezoning, and the Nash Arts construction of the Senior Center, built labs with Puny Chun, stormwater retention between Braswell Farm, Build Labs, and of course all special events go before the TRC. Boards and committees, planning board met 9 times last year. Board of Adjustments only meets once a year. They have not met their yearly commitment, but pretty much we have not had any variances or special use permit requests since we have adopted conditional rezoning. Of course, you know, we prepare all agendas, reports, everything for all of those boards. Downtown Service MSD Board, 8 meetings this year. MSD did get a lot of stuff done this year. Professional development, Ms. Jones right now is taking, as we speak, the CZO class offered by the UNC School of Government. I myself went to Municipal County Administration course, both were taught by the UNC School of Government. Both these give us professional training and professional leadership skills to continue on working in the town. Historic preservation, that's been a heavy topic for the town with a lot going on in our historic district. New workload, new responsibility if approved. We've already started work with the NC Historic Preservation Office. If we adopt this and want to move forward, we know right now we had that first kickoff meeting where we got some good reviews from members of the public, but we do want to go back and hear from members actually in the district. We had a lot that night who came out that lived in the district, but we feel like if we done something in spring, summertime, one more time before we get it to the council, we would get a good heads count to see if we need to move forward. But you know, we do move forward. I'm gonna have to issue COAs, prepare staff reports, agendas, recommendations, conduct design reviews, exterior changes, perform inspections and enforcements, and also coordinate with SHPO and manage the grants. This is going to be a lot taking on our department with only 2 right now. And without additional staffing, you're looking at slower approvals, increased legal risk, reduced protection of the historic assets. Bottom line, historic preservation requires dedicated staff if we want to do it right. And that's one thing we aim to please for in Nashville. Planning department is do things right the first time so we don't have to do it the second time.
Can I pause you right there?
Please.
I thought that the certificates of appropriateness, and all of the review of like the exterior changes and stuff like that would be handled by the board
Yes.
that we put together.
The commission would do that. The staff would still have to do like we do for planning board and for you guys. Is do the, we would have to do the agenda report, and also intake all application, go out, meet with the property owner, do the photos, everything we need for that packet.
And Bill, you had mentioned maybe doing an inventory to see if there are more that
Yeah.
qualify than just what we have
I think we need to
identified.
have to figure out what the area is first before we
Yes.
have a meeting, because
Right.
those people need to be invited if we're gonna.
Right. And if we wanted to go right now, when we did the first one, we stopped at 58. It's when from everything from the Cooley House was the only one on 58 that got an invitation. Everything from the Cooley House all the way down to Barn Street into the junction, all that hub got invitations to come out. But if we want to extend over, because we do have some houses across 58 behind the Cooley House that do look historic, that should be invited, we can do a second round to make sure they're invited also.
Well, Center Street was on the original list.
I think all that area got letters. Everything in that area got letters. I think once we got to the mayor's house is where we cut the line off in the first round. But we could add in all that area right back in there also.
We need to define what we're gonna do and then look at the map to expand it.
And we went off the map that was provided by the historic
With
people.
50
Right.
years old.
Right.
That's it. So
That's correct.
many houses that should be included.
If we want to do that, we also would need a budget for the survey to get it, disregard how far we want to go. But I guess that will be future down the road. While the position should be split, as you know, Thomasine and myself do dual positions. She's the planner and the code enforcement officer. I am the planning director, also overseeing the downtown stuff. What we're going to do is propose splitting her position and giving an extra person to come in to lighten the load in that area so we can reshow some things. If we split it, the planner will be managing all permits, planning. Right now, she's managing all permits, planning, and code enforcement. If we split it, we'll be increasing development enforcement workload, specializing in efficiency and response time. So what we're looking at, I work with our HR director, Ms. Lilly, on this. She was saying we can make Thomasine the permit tech who does all intake, all permit, everything that assists me with permitting, reviewing permitting, processing permitting, all of that stuff, intake for historic stuff. And we decided to have historic commission, all that stuff she will handle. And then the ordinance enforcement officer would now do that part, just all code enforcement. So the ordinance enforcement officer would be doing 2-hour parking, trash can letters, high grass, junk vehicles, minimum housing, blighted commercial buildings, 2-hour parking in downtown. They would handle all ordinance enforcement for the town. If you look at other planning departments all over North Carolina, this is the structure in most municipalities. The permit tech handles intake and public counter service. The code officer handles inspection and violation. The plan staff focuses on development, review, and planning policy. What happens without additional staffing? Permit reviews also slow down. Code enforcement time slows down. The coronavirus list where we got 32 now drops down. Plan staff is forced to divide time between enforcement and development review. Potential delays for business and residents seeking permits. Return on investment for the town. 72 code enforcement, abatement, invoicing collected or lien. Improve compliance, reduce long-term nuisance enforcement cleanup. Clear neighborhoods, protect property values. That's what we're here for. Healthy, clean, positive neighborhoods. Council investment equals a stronger Nashville, faster service for residents and businesses, stronger, more consistent code enforcement, better support for economic development, and a planning department position to manage Nashville's future growth. We did expand some government transparency. As you know now, all planning board, board of adjustment, MSD meetings are now online where citizens, if they cannot make it out that evening, can watch. Community meetings were online. That worked very well. When we did the historic one, it was live, and we heard from lots of people in town that they truly enjoyed being able to watch that one live. The community meeting we did the other week for the 802 South Break Street store rezoning was not live, but we recorded it and then uploaded that night. A lot of citizens in the community right now, 95 people that went there to watch that community meeting. All the citizens in that community that were unable to come that night due to their work schedule have thanked us for being able to give them access to go back and watch and be able to get questions answered. Once again, accomplishments, UNC Medical, that was a big one we had over here that's now getting ready to be built. East Point Homes is another one that we're waiting to hear back from. Nash Arts. Community impact with code enforcement. Some key problems that the council voted on cleaning up was Barnes Street, Western Street, Railroad, and Clark. We helped relocate 10 families through the grant funded FEMA mitigation grant. All those families now have been moved out of the Indian Trail subdivision, and the last house should be coming down today, and we will be closing that grant out with the state and FEMA. We improve safety, reduce blight, enhance quality of life. Host over 50 attendees at the Historic Homes live stream town hall meeting. Host over 50 people for the 802 South Break Street meeting. 9 violation of approved fences, 36 for accessory structures. We were able to secure $950,000 with Ben Jones for Public Consulting for the CDBG grant. Ben and myself are now setting the town up to reapply again. We have heard that there will be more funding coming down the pipeline for CDBG. Me and Ben have been in discussion about it, so if it does open up again early, Ben is going to reapply to town again. I told him, please do it. We love the CDBG grants. We feel like that brings a good image to the town, a good image from the council, that people know in the town that we care about you and that we want to see that you are in safe, healthy houses. Led regional mitigation plan with multiple counties. As you know, I sit on the Nash, Edgecombe, Wilson mitigation plan, helping right there. So we got that adopted. Position Nashville for future funding opportunities. Initiate the historic preservation office to work on that stuff. Economic development, facilitated facade grants, downtown improvements. We updated MSD bylaws, created a new banner program. We think the new banner program works better. Everybody I have talked with said the pricing from the old company was $900. We're only charging $200. And we're keeping it all local by using a craftsman and a true marksman when it comes to creating signs. But Tim Glasgow, he has did an outstanding job with the creation of the banners, and we truly thank him for taking time. We negotiated 2 developers of single-family homes on 2 town-owned lots. As you know, our new BBA builders, we were able to contact them and get them to apply for the upset bid of 2 lots. 215 South Lumber Street that the town was keeping maintained grass cutting. Now we have a new single-family dwelling on it. Also, we have one coming up on South 5th Street we worked on. We increased the zoning fees, and we began branding the MSD. That was one thing the MSD told me when we got together, was they wanted their own brand that was separate from the town. So we have the logo contest that will be concluded next week. And of course, we continue the beautification of flowers all throughout the MSD. TRC, like we said, we reconstructed under my leadership. We improved in department coordination. We streamlined development. We handle these major projects. And as I think the council does like this, all rezoning and text amendments come before the TRC before they go to the planning board and the council for our recommendation. Lastly, the big impact for 2025, 13 rezoning cases. That is 2 rezoning cases per month the council has heard. $95,000 once again to CDBG, multifamily, multiple infrastructure projects, downtown revitalization initiatives, renewed streams established, identify the new downtown. Planning department is driving growth in Nashville. And as we just said, if we could get the council to really think on that, it would be much needed to bring in additional staff member to help us out. Council, that's my presentation. I will answer any question that you guys may have at this proper time.
How many of the 10 families stayed in Nashville?
All 10 of them.
Okay.
All of them, yes, sir. They were all property owners. Out of 10 of them, 4 was rental units, and the rest were all property owners. And everybody, we had more than that wanted to go through the mitigation process, but of course, when you start here and you cannot find a place to locate, they kind of backed out at the last minute, which we truly understand. But now, since we tore all those houses down, everybody in the Indian Trail subdivision has been calling my phone, and the town manager last phone want to know when would the town apply for that grant again, because they said if we ever apply grant again and get funded, they will go forward with the program, tear their house down and move to a new location.
So all 6 that own property bought property in Nashville?
Yes, sir. 6 of them stayed in Nashville. 2 of them went on the outskirts of Nashville.
Yeah, Aaron went to Castelli.
He went to Castelli, and Miss Pauline went out there on Regis Store Road. But majority of the rest of them kind of stay in town. If they were renters, they just found a new place in Nashville to rent from a new landlord. If they were property owners, they just found somewhere locally to go. And we did work with local realtors and everybody on this. We tried to tell our people on the program to find local realtors that were either based in this area to work with on it. And the majority of them did. I think Aaron found a lady who was local, and Miss Pauline did.
So in that shit, you just need another body.
Yes, sir. honestly, we do, sir. Mr. Taylor, Councilman Taylor, we are doing everything we can to work with two people as this town continues to grow and we continue to take on more tasks. Historic homes, it's gonna take more for me to work on that. So if we can reshuffle some stuff and work with HR Director, Ms. Lilly, about how we should do it. She's given me a great game plan of bringing somebody in as the water support officer, getting Thomasine so she has experience working with shipper and stuff, to give that direction, being an intake, and then I can just finalize everything. Any other questions from the council?
You did good. You didn't mention that word I didn't want to hear. You did good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll take care of that Monday night.
All right.
We pray we will.
I hope you will. Tired.
Good
I
morning,
was new person.
Mayor, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to have me here today, presenting.
We're glad to have you here.
So I am going to be sharing some updates from the HR department regarding our continued commitment. And we will also be outlining our recent accomplishments as well as some future goals and some pressing needs to further support the town's mission. So this slide, it has the word serve. As you know, this is our motto. It is leading through sincerity, engagement, recognition, vested excellence. At the heart of everything we do is a simple philosophy, which is people first. So for us, employees are not just a line item, they are our town's greatest asset. And these aren't just words, on a page. They are our daily standards that guide us on how to treat one another and how we represent the town of Nashville. So by continuing to prioritize the well-being of our team, we ensure that we are empowering our highest level of commitment to our community. The Pulse of Nashville. So to better understand what the Pulse of Nashville stands for, we look at the dedicated teams that keep our town running, and it starts with you all, our governing body, setting the policy and vision. That vision is carried out through our daily routine by our public safety teams, the crews in public works. They are the ones who maintain our infrastructure, our planning team, which is shaping our growth. And of course, behind the scenes, it's our administration, finance, and then we have our parks and recreation library teams who provide the quality of life our citizens deserve. And in HR, our role is to support the people in every one of these circles. Town landscape and growth. The estimated population of Nashville in 2026 is estimated at 5949. Nashville is growing. We are seeing a growth of about 0.90 or 1% annually. Since 2020, the population has increased roughly by 5.25%. So our community, as you can see, is on the move. With our population reaching nearly 6,000 residents, Nashville has seen, again, over 5% growth. While this growth signals a thriving town, it also creates a direct increase in operational demand. In order to maintain high service levels, our citizens expect, what our citizens expect from public safety to infrastructure. We must ensure that we have a stable, competitive, compensated, and expert workforce that can scale alongside our growing population. This next slide just talks about some of our HR accomplishments. I am very big on engagement and transparency, making sure that we are bridging the gap by improving internal communication across all departments. What that means is just that I have an open door policy. It means that anytime that any one of these department heads or even our staff or employees want to come talk to me, my door is always open. They are more than welcome to come in. I have brought more awareness to our benefits that we do provide. Some of our employees didn't know how to download their dental cards. Sometimes their dental cards, vision cards are mailed out and they can get lost in the mail. I've been sending them out flyers, letting them know how they can access it. Our medical insurance as well, so they are aware that that's there. Recognition and morale, I've been working on that. It can be as simple as sending out an email that says happy birthday, happy belated birthday, or just in any way being there for our employees, because again, our employees are our most important asset. We have continued to use NeoGov. That is very successful. We utilize it to recruit. We were currently recruiting, still are recruiting for our 2 senior firefighters. We were recruiting for our maintenance part technician, and again, that position, an offer has been made, and we are working on the background check and the process that goes behind the scenes on that. As far as HR goes, I'm committed to leading with best-in-class expertise this month. I just earned my BBA in HR, and I was awarded a scholarship from PARSHA, which is the Public Sector Human Resources Association. It's one of the biggest ones in municipal government. It's just so that is just a certification I will be working on soon, and then for future vision, pursuing other HR certifications, higher education to continue to lead Nashville. Next, we're going to talk about some needs. Now, this here, it doesn't mean that it needs to go into effect today or within the next fiscal year, but we are going towards this. So we'll start off with perhaps in the next year, my vision includes addressing 2 of these key areas, which in the long run are going to save us time and money. So first, we need to look at staffing needs. We will be requesting another position. We talked about potentially maybe starting off with a part-time. It's going to be a backup person that backs up HR, our town clerk, and our town manager. And the reason for this is because what this person will do, we haven't thought of a name just yet, so I'm just using an administrative assistant or a communication specialist. They're going to be handling data entry, helping with invoice processing, keying to ensure accuracy and also compliance. So with everything being digital online on the web, there are more requirements that are coming in. So this person would be able to help us with audit purposes or just acting as a professional liaison for our community and any internal inquiries that come our way. But again, our presence is growing also with social media. So with that, and Lou's done a fantastic job of, providing real-time updates, but let's just say Lou's out or she's sick or she wants to take a vacation. So we need to have someone that would be able to back us up. Next up, we'll talk about performance and merit software. So once we have our pay structure exactly where it needs to be, this is where this would be very beneficial. And the reason behind that is because right now we've always done a salary study. So whether it's, a few departments one year and then we focus on non-public or public safety the next year, we've seen that regardless where we're headed, it seems that we're never there or we're behind. So with a merit system in place, if we were at the pay structure where we needed to be, then maybe those costly salary studies, and by costly, it's not that we're outsourcing them to someone, but I mean internally where we're having to adjust salaries or do emergency salary adjustments. With us being in the right pay structure, then with a merit system in place, we could just focus on cost of living increases and then merits in place, which a merit doesn't have to be the same exact amount every year. Of course, you would decide that at the end of the day. And then we could look at those merits, whether we base it on across the board for, say, if you were to approve a 2%, do we look at everyone that's performing based on merit and then do a 2% across the board? Or do we do up to a 2%, which that would mean based on performance, like our high performers would get the 2%, our ones that are just meeting expectations or needs, do we focus on a 5%, a 1%, so on. But again, this is something in the near future that we could start potentially looking at and planning for. The next slide focuses on retention. So within the last 12 months, we had 12 staff members who we lost. These were full-time, part-time, or retirees. And the departments you see here are just the departments that actually lost an employee. So HR, as you know, we had 1 resignation there. Public Works, within the last year, we had 4. Police had 1. Fire had
What's
2.
the right column?
The right column is just showing you how many employees are in the actual team department. Yeah, so that number can look scary. So police lost 1 compared to the 25 employees they have. Fire recently, actually in March, lost 2. And then they have a total of 21. We have Parks and Rec. So Parks and Rec, they had 2 resignations. 1 was a retiree, then we filled it. Then we lost that other employee, and now we're getting ready to fill that. So that's why you see 2 there. And then I've also included, I kept the part-time position separate, but overall we have 18 part-time Parks and Rec positions, and we lost 2 part-times there.
And library isn't on there because they kept everybody.
I think what you just pointed out is key to this as well. Like, you know, I feel like some of these are unique situations where Trey left because he's becoming a full-time pastor, where we had a retiree. Like, that to me is not a retention problem.
Correct. So maybe the verbiage is where we're going to the next slide, but this is more of, again, full-time, part-time retirees. It's just more of the.
Part-time public works is pretty good for part-time people that are, lots of teenagers too, right?
For the part-time Parks and Recs. One was an adult that we lost to a different, they took their full-time position, correct? And 1 was in school. Yeah. Fire, we have 2 resignations again as of March. There could potentially be more within the next weeks to come. More of our staffing stats. This just shows you the last 5 years. So this is a 5-year snapshot. It highlights the clear trend of where we've been at. The cost of, just as an FYI, the cost of turnover is a silent budget killer. And what that pretty much means is that, you know, sometimes we get these employees, we train them, and then if they don't stay and they leave, we have to turn around and train another employee again. So that's taking time because we have to show them, either if they've never been in that type of work field, we have to show them the work, or we have to show them the way town of Nashville does it. And then, so if they're only staying 6 months, we're only getting enough time to train them, and then we're turning around, losing them. And then that took time from our current staff as well, because they're having to help train those employees, or they're having to pick up the slack for those vacancies. So when we lose an employee, we don't just, you know, lose a person, we're losing an investment, because that costs us money. The solution to that, if we're losing them, of course, to go to a bigger municipality or something else, would be to retain our employees. Of course, when we lost an employee, as Kate mentioned, to a different calling, then, you know, we were going to lose that employee anyways. Or, but one of the things I've heard is, well, there isn't a lot of room for growth. So again, with our Parks and Rec part-time position, where we lost 1 to a full-time position, that we could see that as in, well, we didn't have a position for them to go into as well. So we have to also compensate our team fairly, because again, when they're having to pick up the slack for someone else, sometimes they're having to do more work, and more work can lead to burnout. Growth versus staffing levels. So the reality we face is that Nashville is growing, but our headcount is still stagnant. We don't get a lot of new positions, or there isn't, again, like I mentioned, a lot of room for growth. So one of the things that was brought to my attention by staff is that because most positions are filled, so I just recently did some exit interviews with our firefighters, and we're like, well, you know, when we came on, we knew that we were filling the team, filling that department. So what that means is that they knew unless someone was going to retire or someone was going to leave to go somewhere else, there wasn't going to be room for growth for them to look at. So again, our planning, public safety, public works administration teams, they're seeing growth and it's outpacing our capacity. So when demand goes up and staffing stays the same, it can lead to burnout. And burnout sometimes is what can lead to more turnover. So when I mentioned the exit interviews that I had with the fire department, that was some of the things that these staff were actually mentioning to me. And that is how also I became aware that within the next few weeks, we may be losing more staff. It hasn't been confirmed. We haven't received their resignations, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did get 2 more. So some may say that we are a training hub. The town of Nashville is a training hub. What does that mean? That people come here and get trained up just to leave to the next best thing. And respectfully, we cannot afford that because we are, again, like I mentioned, we are training these staffs. We are putting resources, money into these staff. And then for them, because word of mouth, or I call it the ripple effect, because they heard that the next neighboring town or, municipality is offering them more money, then they turn around and leave. We're gonna get that anyways. Some people are gonna leave and sometimes that's best, sometimes it's best to part ways, but we don't want to lose our good staff, the ones that have been here for years, due to compensation or due to that they don't see the career growth or that we're not supporting them. So sometimes, like I mentioned, a person leaving is the right move for both sides, but we want to make sure we're not losing the good ones. Next, I'm gonna show you just a small comparison. So you'll see some positions are mentioned here, not every single position or every department was mentioned, but this was just some that I picked out for you to have a visual on. You do have a salary study that was provided to you, and we also have a salary review that we did from the League of Municipalities that can be emailed to you. The reason we did not print it out is because it is about 400 pages, and that would have been too much. But from what we found out from what was surveyed, it's kind of clear that our current pay is falling behind the market. So to ensure this wasn't just a guess, we looked at that huge packet that the league provided to us. And we compared 7 different towns in comparison to get these salaries. And that's the breakdown of that salary review that you do have in your hands. And specifically 2 towns that were kind of sticking out there were Butner and Williamston, and they kind of fell within our population and our structure. Williamston more in line because they are around the 5,000 population. Butner is a little bit larger. They are in the 8,000 population. However, they did mirror us when it came to our growth, our services that we provide, and again, our positions that we do have. The conclusion is that we are a little behind compared to those 2, but if we took the average salary compared to all 7 towns that were reviewed, it does show that Nashville has, for whatever reason, stayed behind on the market. So
Do we know the turnover rate from those 7 towns or these 2 towns?
no, we don't. That is the information that we would probably have to pick up the phone and call those towns if we wanted to have that information. I did have to call Butner because they, for 2 positions, just to see where their pay was at because they didn't report it to the league. But if you would like, that would be something that we
would be
could.
valuable, I think, because you never know exactly what it is that's incentivizing people to go, whether it's 100% money and really it comes down to that, and they might say growth and, career track and things like that, but at the end of the day, it is actually money, or it could be a combination of those things.
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
And Lou did just email you guys the salary study from the league. It's 300 and some pages.
420.
That's what I didn't know.
Yeah, so that would be good information that I can get to you all and provide it to you. We just want to stay where our neighboring towns, municipalities are at, you know, because we don't just want to. You know, with money, it's always complicated because we don't ever know. Someone's going to say it was due to salary or it was due to other reasons. It could have been a resignation, a termination. But when information is public, such as salaries and public information is getting put out there, and then on social media you see people sharing information, and then you see Town of Nashville at the bottom. It doesn't always. It doesn't. You don't want your town to be known as the one on at the bottom of the list, especially with our location where we're at, because we are like right in the middle of. We're right by 64, so we're right in the middle of either Nash County or Wake County. And you know, we're within a driving distance where sometimes we're not going to be able to compete with bigger municipalities, bigger counties. For example, Johnson County, I've heard people say, well, we're living in Johnson County. I recently came from Johnson County, and at the rate that they're growing, they're massive. So we would never be able to compare to them. But we do want to be able to compete with our surrounding area and not lose one of our employees due to that only reason, you know, which is compensation.
I would like to see how close we are to Zebulon and Wake Forest.
Zebulon and Wake Forest. Okay.
Well, the one that shocked me, and I don't know if it's accurate, but we should find out, something got posted on Fighting Crime with police department, and we were below Springfield's. Like, that was concerning.
Yeah, that's starting salaries for police.
They had a huge raise last year.
Yeah, so, yeah, what it is, and that's a conversation we've had as well, is that, for example, with police is sometimes what other municipalities are doing is that they're focusing just on one team. And one of the things that came about in an article that I was reading, and I want to say that it was Chapel Hill, and I can't remember off the top of my head. It was 3 different municipalities. I know Chapel Hill was one of them where they were saying that this wasn't a public safety year, but their main focus was going to be on public safety because of retention and also losing staff to other municipalities that are offering them more money. And that is just because of the type of work it is, and no one wants to do it no more, or no one wants to risk their life, you know. So again, the article was reading that they would be talking about that and putting it into their budget, even though it wasn't their year, but that was where their main concentration would be. But sometimes those departments are just things that you do have to look at one by one, because, for example, Wilson County, City of Wilson, I'm sorry, not Wilson County, City of Wilson, they hadn't done a salary study in years, and then they had to do one not too long ago for their police department, and they raised the starting salary for police officers to 55, and that's straight out of the academy. And then we had Rocky Mount that was on, City of Rocky Mount that was on the news 2 years ago, that they raised their starting salary to 60,000.
We can't use Rocky Mountain, that's why they're
Maybe
broke.
we're paying for that salary.
Don't throw it out there.
Correct.
But we
and
have-
unfortunately, that wasn't a good decision for them.
No, it was not.
And it brought more problems to their situation. But it's just things that, in general, just speaking to this, that we're looking at, that they knew that it was a problem. Maybe they had other problems with that, but they acknowledged that their pay needed to go up for these
But I don't know if I don't recall of us losing any employee to the city of
No.
Wilson or to
No, but I
Butler.
think this is a really good example.
But we
because I
have
was-
lost,
Right, but
we have lost to Zebulon, to Wake Forest, and
Durham.
when they're.
Yeah, one of our fire departments is going to Durham
Johnston County.
and Johnson County.
Right. But
I
not
look at that though,
going
like
east.
what you had said, as far as us trying to keep up with Johnson County, Wake County, like we just can't, we
No,
cannot
we
do
can't
that.
keep up
If
with
somebody
Wake
wants to drive an hour to and from work and do that, then that's on them. I like what you did as far as picking these 2 towns, because I'm just looking at like average household income or location, you know, like where are they close to and what other things are they competing with? So looking at Butner, that was closer to Wake Forest, their household income was 72,000, and so that was a little bit higher than Nashville. Looking at Williamston, their average household income was 40,000 versus us, which is 61 to 68,000. So I think when we're comparing our citizens, this is a pretty good dip into like what we would be expecting for population size, household income size, where the location is. So yes, we're not losing anybody to either one of these, but I think this is a good snapshot of expectation.
And the reason I didn't choose Zebulon, but again, that's information that I can get, that's easy to just pick up the phone and, you know, call them and ask them for their information, is because they didn't have a lot of the positions that we currently have. Their population has grown. Wendell was really close to Nashville years ago. But then they grew. So now we can't compete,
Right.
you know, so at some time they were very similar in size to us. But then with the housing market and everything, you know, after COVID, and they don't have all the positions we have. So they have more, they have more funds where if they only have 12 positions, they're able to, you know, give that out or do special salary adjustments for their staff. So whereas maybe their starting pay is different as far as on the books goes or what's public, they have room for a hiring range, whereas we don't have a hiring range where you can come in and negotiate your salary. It's going to be either really close to that starting salary, or you're gonna, or if we're gonna negotiate, we're gonna give you that 5% increase at the upfront, but then there is no incentive afterwards. So that is one of the reasons why I didn't focus like on Zebulon, Wendell, Spring Hope. But again, that is information that I can provide to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The next slide shows you phases, like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. But another thing to note is that there's no dates, meaning that this is something that we can work towards after more discussion. It doesn't mean that it's even going to go through or that we've agreed on it. It's just something to look at to have a plan for our future. Phase 1 would be a cost of living increase. And again, that's probably the closest one because that is something that if you approve and it is adopted, we can potentially look at implementing July 1st of this fiscal year. Now, there isn't percentages here, but when we do get more into this, I would be proposing a 3% cost of living adjustment. And that is just based on CPI information and what other municipalities are doing. I am on a listserv that involves other HR administrators in towns. And some of them were already starting to put 2.7, 2.9, 3.1%. So I think if we go by what is like what everyone is going to probably be doing around our area, I would probably be suggesting a 3% COLA. This 3% would provide more purchasing power to our employees and is still within the market norms of what other government entities would be doing. And Social Security did already give their rate, and I want to say that they're going up 2.8. Ryan, do you recall? Is it 2.8? 2.8%.
Spend it all in one place.
Phase 2 would be my next recommendation. Is we shift more towards market alignment. Again, market alignment for me would be that compared to other towns that are within our population or size, or that have our positions, with a plan that some employees would receive a 2% adjustment, and then some other employees, specifically one of our bigger departments, Public Works, where it wouldn't focus on just a 2%, it would focus more on the position and where they are on the pay structure and where they would need to move up to be more average. When we reviewed this information, we did not put employees at a percentage above, because we do have numbers and that's there. And again, it's within the salary study that we did. So it didn't put anyone way above average or maybe even where they should have been. So that's something to keep in mind, that this was based off of information that was provided to us from 2025. But let's just say that these other towns come in and they do a COLA increase and then they do a salary adjustment. We won't have that information because it's still too soon. That is what they're probably going to be implementing in 2026. So again, we put employees as close as we could to the 2025 average. And that information has been provided to you. So again, I don't have the exact figures, but it did show that our public works department is very behind our town hall and then our police department as well. Now, this 4-phase plan, it's more, again, like I mentioned, like a roadmap. So it doesn't mean that it has to happen today. If we were to go with phase 1 and phase 2, phase 1 could become effective July 1st. Phase 2, after further review, we can implement it come January 1st. And then phase 3 would be approval for the needed positions that we would have to further discuss with all departments and you, of course, because results have shown that we are growing. So a lot of these departments do need more positions. Public Works need positions, fire needs position, planning and development needs position. And again, a town hall needs a position, and that one position that, if granted, it would be a person that does it all, because they would benefit HR, probably helping somewhat with front desk as well, where it adds some coverage if someone needs to go out to lunch or they're in a meeting. And again, our town clerk. Phase 4 is that if we could knock some of these out and be where we need to be, then we wouldn't have to focus on a salary study again. Or let's just say that you're interested in seeing what the salary study has to show. Then we could continue to do that. But then it doesn't necessarily mean that it would mean that we would need more increases. So then if we were at a comfortable place, we could focus on a merit base going forward, which on the long run would save us money.
So why wouldn't we switch phase 4 up to like phase 1 or phase 2?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't we switch sooner to a merit-based system so we can start rewarding our high-performing employees?
I was just thinking that it was going to be too costly to do it all within 1 year. So if we do a cost of living come July, and then we do our salary adjustments come January, then we could do a merit base. But then where within the fiscal year would it fall appropriately versus if we do a cost of living July, we do our salary adjustment January and have in place a merit system, then it would probably be the next fiscal year, because we would probably do it, we could either choose to do it towards right when the new fiscal year begins, which would be July, or we could choose to do merit in October, like start the process of doing the merit performance in October and implement it depending on where you were at come January.
I guess, I guess it's, maybe we just don't have all the information, or we have too much information, I don't know what it is, but just in looking at this one right here.
Yeah.
There are some that match completely, there are some below, and then there are some that are well above what the salary-based study that the league had done.
Yeah.
So if we did a COLA across the board, it doesn't fix those that are well above. But if we did a merit-based, we could bump up some of those that are at or below that deserve to be higher.
Correct. So we talked about that. And the reason behind it was, at first we were thinking of doing a COLA and then doing the salary adjustments for those that were really below. And then the question came up, well, we knew it wasn't a public safety year, but we wanted to look at it across the board, across all departments, and keep it very consistent. So that is why if you see some columns have a 2%, so those that did not benefit from the salary study, we were thinking a 2% across the board increase, just to keep them competitive, which would be that of our fire department, for example, just using them as an example. But then our department that was like really behind, except for like 1 or 2 employees, was our public works department. So the reason in public works you might see maybe 1 to 3 employees that are well above, it's because there was something that was done a few years ago prior to me where it was based on years of service to the town, not years of service or based on overall experience or use of, or just the position. It wasn't when that salary adjustment was done, it wasn't based on the position in itself. It was done as years of service to town of Nashville. So some, of course, that had been here a long time benefited from that. So it added compression. And compression is that one of those employees could be managing or supervising 5 staff and 3 other staff are way above them, which shouldn't be that way. So we are trying to also fix compression.
Didn't we do a merit-based increase a couple of years ago? To some of the departments, I think we did for the fire department and for the police department, didn't we? A couple of years ago.
I don't know if it was merit, it was an increase.
It was an increase.
I don't think it was merit.
No, it may not have been merit, but we did it was increase because everybody, some of them got a big increase and some of them got a marginal increase.
And that may be the 2021 study that I'm talking about. I don't necessarily know what it was called then. However, it wasn't, it was good for those that benefited out of it, but not everyone.
Well, I've talked about last year at the council in this meeting, that we call it merit, but it's not merit. We're just giving everybody something. And we need to get away from that.
Yes.
I've said that for this 3rd year in a row, I've said it, same thing. We need to give merit to people that have done great and do great, and
Yes.
not give merit to the whole town.
But you can't give merit, just like in public education, until you get people up to where they need to be. Because then it's in vain.
Yes.
Because if I'm making low, below, and I'm working hard, I'll get a little, but I mean, you've got to get everybody on a fair level where they need to be before you can honestly give merit and it not cause ill will among your people.
And that is why it's towards the bottom, because that would have been the perfect picture. If everybody was where they're supposed to be, then again, you don't have these costly salary study situations. You would have a COLA due to cost of living inflation, and then you would have your regular merit. And then we would just be budgeting today potentially for a merit.
Right.
Where that doesn't mean everyone will get it. That's up to you, whether the employee, whether you get it or not.
Supervisor.
But then you have a performance appraisal in place that can back up that data, that information based on this. The employee signs off on it, meaning that they know, they're aware. So come next year or the year prior, or 5 years down the road, if we were to do a salary study again, now you have information why this person is so behind. This person, I mean, I hope we wouldn't wait 5 years, to figure out that something's wrong with this employee. Correct. But then you would have information to actually back up that shows the results that this person was not performing where they needed to be. But that is how it usually works. So a salary study can be done every other year or every 2 years or 3 years, but it doesn't always mean that the results are going to come about where we're below. But if we've been doing these salary studies and we have continued to be below and then we do them again and it shows again, it's because we're not staying up to market or we're not fixing the problem. We're just putting like a Band-Aid and saying, today you just get $1,000 increase for annual, but that $1,000 increase didn't get you where you needed to be based on the market. It was just, here you go. To keep you quiet for this year or happy, content, so that you can, continue to show up. So, but it doesn't mean we don't have to do it. It's doable. There's a lot of systems out there. We have one right now, but it's paper format. But if it had meaning behind it, then it would be doing us more justice. So potentially we don't have the funds to buy a performance or appraisal system. NeoGov does provide what they call Perform. However, it is very costly, and usually it's on a contract base. So let's just say they do 3 years, then you would pay one amount this year, and then the next year you'd pay another one. But only the first year you're also paying an additional amount because they're helping you implement it, and then there's backup help, assistance if you need to call them. However, by costly, this is just a rough number, probably $16,000. But if we already have a performance in place that's paper right now this year, and that would save us money, then if we actually implemented and gave it value, meaning that there's something behind it, and that this is the deadline and this is when you get your performance and it means something, then you would benefit from it. Another thing with merit is that merit is usually you have to be able to grade someone on their performance. So a probationary employee would have to understand that they wouldn't be entitled to a merit until after the probationary period. So it would just depend on when we implement it, when the employee gets hired. So let's just say we implement it effective in October, then an employee that was hired in January would benefit from it, but someone that's been hired in July wouldn't, but they would be next year. But if we started them on a competitive salary, then that would be okay because they know what they're coming into. And they would have something to look.
Yearly evaluations of all employees?
Yes, we currently are. Yes. But again, employees aren't motivated towards it because there's nothing behind that yearly evaluation. It's just,
Right.
here you go, thank you. And that's it.
That's why we gotta get the merit.
Yes,
Right.
but we gotta fix
It's
the
got to be
problem
right
before we get the
time.
merit.
Merit will be great,
Yes,
but I watched it ruin public education, the merit pay.
and merit can be whatever you want it to be. So again, if you want it to be based on a percentage awarding high performers, then that's an option. Or if you want it to be across the board, that as long as you're meeting standards, then you do a percentage, then that's something there
Or a
as well.
combination where you do a higher percentage for those high performers
Right.
and then a lower percentage for
That,
meeting expectations.
yes.
Right.
There's some people who want to come to work and do the job in the home, and that's okay.
And some come to work happy, loving to be there, and some come moaning and groaning, and that makes a difference.
And that's why earlier I said sometimes when some leave, turnover isn't always bad,
Well,
but
sometimes it's not a good fit, and they need to be.
yeah. And it puts it back on the supervisor as well. Because when you're doing an appraisal, then again, I don't expect 5 years to go by and you finally come to me and say, we had a problem. Then where was your coaching? Where was your documentation all along?
The thing of it is, I agree 100%. I mean, it's embarrassing when we're below someone like Spring Hope. It really is, and we need to fix it. I don't care if we go in phase 1, 2, and 3. I mean, this is something we really need to.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to implement this. You give me the go and we'll work on it, But again, I didn't want it to all feel like too much because with this, there is a cost and it adds up to everything else we need. But if we were able to find a solution, one of the options, that I said saving money is keep the paper evaluation for now and do that. Again, another thing was it took about 2 weeks with me and Tressa going back and forth doing the salary review because again, sometimes you do have to pick up the phone. You can't just rely on information that's given to you, and that saved money because a salary study can cost up to $50,000. And we didn't look at it based on a name. We looked at it on titles, positions, and what for example, these other 2 towns had, the structure, because that is, again, why I mentioned that we didn't just focus on Wendell, Spring Hope, or Zebulon. We wanted to find the towns that were similar to us, not just maybe in population, but also the structure that we currently have as far as positions go. Questions?
Any questions?
Well, you need to keep in mind too, Mayor, that it is embarrassing to find out that we are lower than Spring Hope. You understand that, Spring Hope did get a raise, but they do not have a town manager to cost part of that crap right now, just like Rocky Mount just went through stuff, so.
I think Spring Hope has hired one.
You think they hired
I heard
one?
at a meeting the other day.
Okay, well,
They have.
They
they
have,
have,
yeah, they have.
okay.
But,
Would you get,
I get what you.
I just want us to do right, and I certainly don't want us to get in a situation Rocky Mount was in.
no,
But I don't think we will, but I feel all of our leaders have integrity, and I think we're on the right track, and we just need to, as I always say, eat this elephant a bite at a time.
girl, we don't have a brain Rocky Mount. Thank goodness.
And that's a good thing, Mayor, and we talked about that as well. That is why, unfortunately, as much as we would love to give our employees the highest salary or put them way above the average. It wasn't something we did. We came in and say at least to what 2025 shows, whatever happens 2026, we don't know. But yeah, so we want to give the clear message to our employees that we care about them and we want them to stay, and we don't just want to be a training hub. We want to be a destination place.
Right.
All right, so that is all for today. Do y'all have any more questions for me?
Thank you so much. I think you've answered all of our questions.
We got admin coming up, which Lou's gonna give quickly. Tressa didn't have anything as far as the presentation for finance. It's reload and go, and library's pretty much the same, right?
He's coming, he just, he was making his presentation pretty, so we're gonna hand it to you in just a minute.
So, I'm hoping we can finish by 1 o'clock, if you guys are okay with that. We can take a break if you guys wanna come back too.
I didn't bring snacks this time, because last time, I think like 5 pieces of fruit were ate and like 4 donut holes,
I
so.
would have eaten all of it right now.
I mean, it is noon, if you guys wanna break for a half hour and come back.
No, let's go ahead. If we pass out, pick us up.
This one's fast,
He's
and
watching machine.
I got you.
But I'm okay.
I think
I'm
mine
okay
is
right
good.
now. It's just dropping. She wanted to-
do you want us to
Maybe I
go
can.
grab you something
Go ahead.
real quick?
I'm good right now.
You want to get some naps?
Yeah, go get something.
That'll work.
Go buy a whole case of naps.
Oh, what kind you want, orange or square round?
The daggone old cheese in there.
Old school style, orange.
Old school
I
style.
didn't
You
eat
got
right
it.
then and I didn't eat crap since I was 6 last night.
You were what?
I was sick last night.
Oh, you were sick.
Oh, don't can you grab me water?
I'm good.
I usually keep something in my purse.
I always do, but I brought my little bag with us.
The one time, I don't bring it.
One time you gonna bring it to Hollywood.
That's right. I'm gonna bring it next year no matter what. In some of our other workshops that we're having. I'll wait for Bill to get back.
Miss Brenda, you know how students in school can't pay attention when they're hungry?
Right,
You can.
I'm one of those.
We do.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we need to put some more water back in the refrigerator.
No, I do know. I think it's a tax college drink. And I'm not sure. They just seem to be disappearing.
Oh, that's
Do
probably
we
what.
keep that open with an package for you?
Yeah.
Well, the AC doesn't work back there, so we've been keeping the door open.
So the temperature stays a little more
That would
consistent.
better lock it. And on a box too.
And fix our AC.
Is that bathroom still out of order?
Yes.
It's pitiful. I've got squirrels running through the ceilings.
That wasn't a
A
squirrel.
pile of some sort of excrement of spider, roach, something in the bathroom. That's the men's room that I had to use because the women's room is still out of order.
Oh, back here.
Yeah.
And the men's is locked.
No, the men's did not lock.
flush.
What's wrong with it? It won't flush?
Well, that's what I
was told, to leave
the door open.
I don't know, it's been out of order for like 6 months now. I have not used the women's bathroom.
was told
Yeah.
leave the door open because of the.
But that was a Jurassic squirrel that went through here. I've never heard that that loud.
I
It
know.
sounded
it's
like a small child, like
It's not-
scurrying
that-
across.
That's something in Jurassic Park over here.
There must be no insulation up there whatsoever.
That is the
All right.
loud.
Okay,
It
yes.
sounded too heavy for a squirrel.
Thank you.
That sounded like a raccoon or possum thing, but hey. All right, so this is the Town of Nashville admin's accomplishments and budget request. The down button. A year of progress. We had strong fiscal management, infrastructure improvement, increased transparency, and community engagement growth. Town manager leadership was strategic planning and oversight. He had budget development, department coordination, and grant management. The infrastructure projects this year were Red Oak Water Extension, Essex Road Water Sewer Extension, Regency Estate Sewer Extension, sewer manhole sealing projects that are ongoing, and the 3-phase power upgrade at South Creek Lift Station. Our economic development was the Nashville Storage Units, the Freedom Industries, Project Bailey, the UNC Health Medical Clinic, Brazil Family Farms expansion at the Nashville Business Center, build labs at the Nashville Business Center, and a joint water detention pond at the Nashville Business Center. And that was very short of Randy's accomplishments because he was busy and we didn't do it. So for my town clerk overview, we had a big project this year that got put into place was our new website. We have improved communication with real-time updates. We have easy access to agenda minutes, videos, and public notices, mobile-friendly and user-friendly design. It's a central hub for all town information, modern and professional look for the town. It supports economic development and growth. It has easy navigation to the departments and services and promotes community involvement and participation. Better service and engagement, we're going to cover that a little bit. With online forms, if you look here, we didn't have a lot of forms online before. We have some. We have all of these. I'm not going to go through them all if you don't want me to, but all of these are all online that are automatically sent to different departments. The bulk pickup will go to the finance department for the girls up front. Chamber reservations go to me. We have public records requests for both the police and for me. Me and Caleb both get a notification for those, and then we respond to those. Since we have those, we have seen that increase. Send in a complaint or suggestion. We've had that a couple of times. One time, sometimes good, sometimes, a complaint, mainly about water and potholes, which we fix. I send to Jason and he gets right on them. And those are the other kind of different ways that they can do online forms. That's with the new website. Oh, where did it go? There we go. So with this new website, we have email and text alerts for meetings, outages, and events. And we have where people sign up for these. These are for the subscribers. And the Board of Adjustments information, we have 208 people signed up for those. For Downtown Strong Advisory Board, there's 218 people signed up to receive information from those. Planning Board, 228. Town announcements, since we sent out our water, we put it in the water bill this last time. It jumped from 200 to like 432. Our town council meetings where they will get agendas have jumped to 259. And the town council news, thank you Megan very much. Megan does the town council news. She sends it out once a month. Has now got 432 people signed up.
Our newsletter.
That's the town council news. That's the town council news. Got a lot of people signed up for that, hoping, as we go, we grow, we'll get more people signed up and as they hear about it. Our social media growth. We have, so on Facebook, you can do, they give you some breakdowns. So this past year, I ran this from July to Friday. We had 1,571,617 views, which was up 377%.
That's in 2026?
This year, yes, from July of 2025 to Friday.
Wow.
We had 1,500 new followers, and our total followers are up to 4,533, which is up 51.9%. We had 12,275 interactions, which is, like the thumbs up, whether they made comments, stuff like that. So we had 8,000 reactions, which is sad face, happy face, thumbs up. We had 1,600 comments, and I have to tell you, like 99% of them are, maybe let's go back, 98% of them are positive.
I was going to ask that question.
Yes, we do not have a lot of negative comments. There's occasionally someone that says something. Mainly, they just like to get on there and be snarky. Not
It's probably the same,
Not
it's probably
usually.
the same person.
Yes, it usually is from the same person. And I think if I have Facebook stalk them a little bit, that they don't even live in town, but hey, it's okay. They're a part of the community. And 1,766 shares. So a lot of that is if I put a road outage or a water break or a pothole or something going on, or some of the events, trash pickup changes, that gets shared. So social media has really grown. I didn't do it from when I started, but has really risen. The community outreach that I've done this year, I did Bloomin' Festival. I'll be doing Bloomin' Festival. I did it last year. I'll do it again this year. We had Halloween Street with the council booth. It was fun. We had a great time passing out a lot of candy. And I've started American 250 planning meetings. And hopefully we can really haven't struggled getting people to want to be involved. Compliance and records, we've had 19 public records requests that were received and responded to. But I've talked to some other clerks and they have, what am I doing? They all are up on just odd things, nothing individual, just like wanting to know our procurements, and I mean, it's just, that's mainly finance.
Are these citizens and like Nancy, or is it?
No, it's just honestly, most of them are just some weird little website that, yeah, but it's everywhere. All of them are getting, I'm like me and Tracy and Nancy who work in Dorches, like, it's just like a broad broadcast that they send out to lots and lots of different for information.
So Nancy just calls.
Yeah, she just calls or emails us. She doesn't fill out the form.
Would you really want that?
No, I would not. I'm perfectly happy with the emails. Yep, exactly. Oh, did I stick one in there in the wrong spot? All right, so the budget request this year.
This one, yeah, good. There you go.
Oh, that's right. I thought it was the other one. 2026 priorities are infrastructure investments, public safety needs, economic development, and community improvements. That's kind of our ranking, which is every year. So budget requests for this year for me, for the town. So our ADA compliance, the American with Disability Act has prohibited discrimination by state and local governments since 1990. In 2024, the Department of Justice published a final rule explicitly requiring all government websites, SaaS mobile apps, and other digital contact and priorities meet the specific accessibility standards. This marks a fundamental shift. Municipalities can no longer wait for accommodation requests, but must build digital services that are accessible by default. The mandate is clear: no resident should be denied access to essential government services because of disability, whether applying for permits, paying taxes, or accessing emergency information.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so how that affects us. So how that affects us is we have a lot of PDFs on our website that are a service. The forms for requesting things. Sean, where is he? Oh, he went to go get naps. All of his forms are pretty much PDF. He doesn't have a software company that does all that. PDFs are not readable by screen readers. So,
Okay.
So like I have like sign minutes. Mine aren't so much because we do have a link when I upload them, they go, but I do put our sign ones on there, but it's mainly finance has some PDFs. I have a few, but Sean has a lot.
Why are they not readable by students?
That's lovely.
It's because they're all usually scanned. It's a weird thing. We've got another meeting on the 30th with a company that I'm getting ready to talk to y'all about that probably could explain it a lot better. I actually had computer issues. Luckily, Coy sat in on the meeting. I was trying to get in on the meeting. My computer froze, shut down. It was a mess. So by the time I got
what is the answer? How do you?
So the answer is a new software that automatically converts all PDFs on the website to a readable format.
But not something that can be editable, like not like a Word.
No, they can't edit it. It's just that the screen reader will read it. So the company is $4,100 a year, and plus a 5% uplift every year And I put on here a one-time, because at the time I thought so, but I went through the contract, there was not a one-time 1,000. So it's fixing the problem. It makes all documents accessible. It converts all PDFs into HTML transcripts. It works on existing and future documents automatically. It makes documents searchable, readable, and mobile friendly, and handles even scanned and complex documents. There's no need to manually remediate thousands of PDFs. So if we were to go in and individually try to convert all our PDFs, they were talking, I mean, what did he say, 10 to,
So they've got this new software that, from what uses AI, that they've patented, and it's Civic. They're the only ones that have it.
Civics Plus, which we
That
use for something.
will go retroactively through our website automatically and update all old PDFs, and it runs in the background on any new ones that we update, so we don't have to worry about them moving forward. Other companies, you can pay somebody to come in and manually do every single PDF. It's gonna get you up to par for now, but then you've gotta be very conscious of anything new you put on.
And there was some, that's what I was trying to figure out remember how much that was to actually pay them to manually come in, and it was
A lot more than that.
a lot more than this, exactly. Well, Civics Plus, and well, Civic Plus houses our ordinances. So we use them because they bought whoever we used to do it with. So they're a really large company that does a lot of government work. So it's called Streamline, but they were bought by Civics Plus, which I don't know if they did that after the meeting or not. So that's not a big request. Yes, we would like a person, but Lily covered that. But that's the one, and it's really not a request, it's a mandate. We have to have it done by April 26th of 2027. So we really don't have an option on this.
And what is the penalty? Could we be
It's
sued, or is there
we can
a
be
fine?
sued by any any person that could not, and there are people that's what they do. I had a clerk, because it's not in, I had another clerk friend who had a guy come in, recorded the whole thing about, well, how are you handling any ADA request? And at this time, because we can, she was like, well, I would sit down with you or sit down with somebody and we would answer all the questions and we'd write in and I'd write in the answers. But that is no longer anything that we can do. So yes, we could be sued.
You know, I could be sitting around waiting to cover our K2 suit.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And there are people.
Mm-hmm.
And I take it, if Civic Plus missed something, we would still have the argument that we've hired somebody
Right,
to do this.
it is, exactly.
You have to say $20 an hour, it's 4 hours a week, you can hire someone to do it, but
Right.
this is probably covering us liability wise too.
Yes. Well, and another thing, like, when we put pictures up there, we describe it. So like, if you look at our website, I've not ever done have a screen reader or know anyone who has one. But when we put a picture up there, we have to describe what the picture is. So when a screen reader, if you hover the mouse over, I've never done a screen reader. I think it does because it's for blind people.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
so-
reads you what it's looking at, it's like a
Yes.
TV program that like reads out.
Right. So, and that's why we have to describe, whenever we upload a picture, we describe that picture. Because like if you go to code enforcement and you hover over a picture, it's like house with debris in front.
Oh, glad to
So-
admit it.
And we now have on our website where we uploaded with Granicus, that before we can ever submit anything, it captures and tells us whether or not it's compliant. But problem is about all our PDFs. So,
Can we get rid of the other program?
what program?
These are the ones that goes in there.
No, that's just part of our website package. That's built into the website package. That's
The
not,
website package doesn't have another package that we could look into to cover it.
no.
And you can chat GPT to go through all of our old stuff and convert it.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe if we hire somebody, we could get it all done and then they would be the ADA compliant person. I mean, that is a real possibility. I don't think we can hire anybody for
No,
$4,100 a year.
not unless they're working one day.
4 hours a week.
No, I'm done. So, thank you. It's my next.
So much.
All right.
Final one then is the PD. What we got? Chief Shockley. You got 30 minutes.
30, 20.
I told everybody 20. Nobody's stuck with it yet.
You said all of your words.
I need one.
Yeah, I did.
You saw VC 330?
But now,
All this is 20 minutes?
I did it 18 the other day.
Thank y'all for your time. I will try my best to keep it under 30 minutes.
Down there.
Down there. So I'm gonna do a quick review of the last year and as well talk about the 3 issues per se and some of the things we've accomplished. All right, so as of right now, we're averaging about 2 community events a month. That does not include the things that we're tasked to. Aside from a lot of these are Parks and Recs events that we either do alongside with them or we partnership with them. And then some of the other ones are just officer-initiated events as well. Reading at the Kids Place to Be. We did Cookies with a Cop, I think, last Friday at the Senior Center. Just an astronomical amount of community events, which is good. It fits into the 6 pillars of law enforcement, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. This past year, we ran 15,166 calls for service, which is an all-time high over the past 5 years. We pull these stats straight from Nash County Communications the same way I pulled the other stats for everyone else in the county, with the exception of Rocky Mount because their dispatch is not our dispatch as well. Right now, per capita, we're running about 7 times, per capita, 7 times the call service the sheriff's office is and 2 times the call Rocky Mount is, per capita. I know that seems hard to believe, but it is a very real reality. This year was our it was our highest year following 2021. There's really no rhyme or reason, but what I can tell you is this year we experienced a extremely high rate in child sex crimes. I don't know why sexual assaults and child sex crimes are going up, but we did do some proactive things this year to try to curb that and make sure that they know that we have a hard stance, not just on narcotics and violence, but also on children. This year we arrested 521 individuals. That's almost 2 people a day. That's a lot of people in custody. I think sometimes Nashville gets the perception that we don't do a lot. I'm here to tell you that 2 people a day is a lot of people for 3 people on a shift. This year we saw a noticeable increase in firearm seizures. This is just 80 interactions with people that we seized illegal firearms, ranging from a wide range of things. Last year it was 23, this year it was 80. We've noticed that juveniles are carrying firearms a lot more frequent. And these are also every single encounter that an officer deals with someone that had a firearm, but this is also not documenting the things where we did not discover a firearm on your day-to-day interactions. The job is becoming predominantly dangerous. We're seeing that people don't want to get into the career as much anymore. And there's a reason why we issue a bulletproof vest and a gun. Good news though. This year we only submitted 1 insurance claim, and Chief Warner, correct me if I'm wrong, we didn't actually submit it, we just filed. That was an all-time low for us. I'd like to account that. We started doing after-action reviews. Part of our accreditation process is we had to implement after-action reviews with specialized instructors who are on our part-time staff. They come in and they talk about what you could have done, how you could have done it better. This right here worked this time, but next time it could get you killed. And brought a lot more awareness to some of the things. This goes from use of force and also vehicle maneuvers. If you look at 2024, 2025, some of the discussions we've had is the difference between a wreck and an intentional action. I think that, and I don't know that there's a simple solution to this, but the league has advised us for pit maneuvers to file an accident report. Well, talking to the Highway Patrol and every other local agency and having done this job a while, when you intentionally hit someone, that's a use of force, that's not an accident. The reason being, and there's pros and cons. The pro side is when we file the insurance claim, we get the money for it, and we get the car repaired. The downside to it is our fleet's not extremely large, whereas the Highway Patrol, they refuse to do accident reports because it's not an accident. An accident is an accident, not an intentional action. They have cars that they can backfill them faster until restitution is paid out in the court system, which our court system is backed up. But good news. So hopefully, if we can continue this, our insurance rate can start to drop a little bit. Narcotics seized by type. I'm not going to go through this much. There are drugs in Nashville. That's roughly 76 kilos of narcotics. Obviously, marijuana being the highest, but it is prevalent in our community. And then grants committed. Now note the years prior, I pulled that from Mr. Lansing's master list. Those are grants that were approved every year up until this year. This year we've already been approved for 4, and then 3 out of them we were already denied, but this was an all-time high for submitted grants. We have someone in-house that writes grant. I don't want to say his name because he'll be taken advantage of. But he writes our grants for us, and we take good care of them, and we are hoping to get stuff through them. They're not always as large. It could be something for as simple as a ballistic vest for a K9, or it can be flashlights. All things that we can try to do to get money that doesn't impact the taxpayer, because that impacts my wallet too.
Now, where do you get notification of available grants? Does he search those out, or she search those out?
So I get a ton of emails either through the National Academy or through the North Carolina Department of Justice, the North Carolina League of Municipalities, and then he also is in some forums where some local law enforcement area will kind of brainstorm some things. And then there's some that's just general public safety, like the Firehouse Subs Grant, something that both the fire station and the police department can submit for. And some of these grants are very, very narrow. You can only apply for 1 or 2 objects at a time. So it's not as broad as, maybe requesting funds from the federal government. This is more so specific items. The BVP grants, which we haven't participated in the last 5 years, that right there is about $500 back, and the league gives us $200 per vest. This year we had to get 6 vests to backfill the vests that weren't bought the previous year, and then to also make up for the ones the year before that weren't purchased. But I believe that's a good number, and I hope that it goes up. I just hope the approvals go up too, but we're standing by. I'd like to think that, maybe. It's a numbers game. Social media outreach. Transparency is a big part of law enforcement, also the 6 pillars of law enforcement. With that being said, we did not have much interaction on social media platforms over the last few years. We kind of took that as a side hobby, something that we can't always manage. With more transparency comes more news reporters, which means that more time on the weekend spent replying to emails, not just to Nancy, but we have a press release mailbox now that goes to 52 news outlets. And every time you send something out, Nancy she's pretty adamant, she gets every one of them. Bill may respond to a few of them, but you sometimes get CBS, NBC. It just depends on who was interested in the topic at hand at the time and what they're trying to press. Not going to dive into the numbers too much. Lou touched on this. There's a program called Insights on Facebook that you can run if you run a company. With that said, as of this morning, we have 7.7 thousand followers. It went up. It's not to say that we're doing a better job, and I poked at Lou earlier. Tragedy brings people together. Tragedy also brings nosy people. And I would not expect that number to go down. I would expect it to go up, but that doesn't mean I'm doing anything that she's not doing, even though I threw the little jab in there. People do care about the Parks and Recs events. I know my wife's on there and she stays informed, but the kind of cold-hearted reality is when bad things happen, people want to know about it, and that's where most of our following comes from. And we have taken a proactive step to be overly transparent, and I think some people have found it shocking just how busy we are, but I think it's also good to note that, yes, we call it Mayberry and it's safe, but there's nowhere that's 100% safe, nowhere. And it has been kind of chaotic, but it's a good thing that I think people know. It brings awareness. With that, the interactions, we've seen 1,000% increase, and we're also working right now to create a podcast series to talk about issues in law enforcement as it directly relates to the town. And he was a chaplain in James City for 32 years. They did things a little different there. He's a trained negotiator. He's a trained crisis intervention expert. And we have outfitted him, and we plan to keep him around until he decides that he's ready to lay down. So it's been a blessing in disguise. He stops by almost every day, talks. He comes and does ride-alongs with the officers.
He doesn't get paid.
He does not get paid.
Well, we need to honor him in some way at some time.
We take care of him pretty well, I promise you.
Okay.
But that's 31 people underneath the command of the police department. Now, the three issues that I want to bring up today is the no upward progression. We created something, and I spoke to Mr. Lansing early on about Project Blueprint. It stands for Building Law Enforcement Upward Progression through Retention, Incentives, Education, and Non-Competitive Tiers. You may have heard Lily talking about the merit pay and this and that, and you had a lot of good questions, and I really wanted to jump up and be like, well, this is what Lily means. So with merit pay, we all do police department in-house evaluations on our employees, and then we do the town police department evaluations. Ever heard of the carrot and stick? We have all the stick in Nashville, we got no carrot. But at the same time, if you're gonna offer a carrot, it has to be standardized. There has to be something that you can evaluate it based upon, something you can grade it upon, and then for training and certifications, you have to have a guidance system that says this percentage for that. If not, it can be easily construed as, we're just giving this because of this, and then we'll give this, and it can get misguided very easily. I will tell you that when we did the progressions, I talked to Mr. Lanson for weeks about it. I don't think that we can do it all fiscally responsible in 1 year with my issue number 2. And issue number 2 is regarding pay. I know a lot of you have said, oh, as long as we're not asking for a ton of money, and I respect everything that you're saying, but I provided you a lot of data, and it's backed. I gave my salary study to Lily. She corrected my 3 or 4 mistakes, and then she built upon it as well. So you'll see 2 different salary studies, and what she sent you, trying to say paper, I did not say paper. But the only documentation I gave you from the League of Municipalities regards to the police department. However, I did include the entire salary study for the town and its findings per position, trying to look out for everybody as well. Note that issue 1 cannot be fixed unless issue 2 is fixed first, because if not, you're going to run into a continuing issue of what we already have experienced while we are in the pursuit of trying to correct things. And then issue number 3, I'll touch on that a little bit later, but it's being operationally sound with outdated and a lack of office space. And I'll briefly talk about the good things that have happened and some of the stuff that's kind of up in air right now. You got it. All right, Project Blueprint. Couldn't find a pretty picture for it. Note it can be fixed without the other issue first. Majority of our police department has degrees or they're veterans, which means that they've made a lifelong commitment by spending a ton of money or either going on the GI Bill to school to obtain these degrees. Now, I'm not saying education trumps social skills, life skills, and life experience, nor wisdom. However, when they make an investment of, I'm not going to go into what the database does, but it's something that we use for intelligence when it comes to cell phones. It's roughly $13,000 to $16,000 a year. I reached out to Homeland Security, my former boss, and we now have that system completely free to us. We got rid of some technology as far as the phones. I don't believe that every nook and cranny in a building needs to have a phone. We have this beautiful thing where when you call me, I just get an email, and then I call you back when I'm available. It's a blessing and a curse, but at the end of the day, it makes it where you don't have to have phones everywhere. Most of our command staff has issued phones as well as our detectives, and you can't always answer the phone when someone calls. That's why I like the voicemail with the phone number, and you can listen to it on your phone. And then best practice for use of force and vehicle pursuits with the after action reviews. I touched on that earlier. I'm not going to go back over it, but I do believe that it brings awareness to some of the things that we saw make our insurance go up. And in today's climate, we are having to use of force more, which is not a good thing, but it is the job. One of our claims this year that we didn't file was an HIV exposure. It's a reality of a job. You get into a fight with a combative subject that's bleeding everywhere and spitting on you. You have to get tested. I don't want to go into the details too much. It's protected by HIPAA, but those are the realities of the job. And then I talked earlier about the proactive work against people that choose to exploit. 3.5 months of field training. Anyone care to guess how much money we've spent in 10 years on people that have come and gone just for 3.5 months? Yep, $1.1 million. That's an astronomical amount, and the breakdown is shoes, hats, training that's It's necessary. You have to have it. A duty belt, their Class A uniform, their badge, their nameplate. All of those things go into it. All specialized. When you leave, I can't take your hat and say, hey, throw this in the washer and wear this. You can't do that. Now, we've done some things at the officer level to try to curb costs. Our new uniforms, if you notice when they take off their vest, if you happen to be around them when they take off the vest, you'll notice there's no name on them. And that's in the hopes of if we get the person that comes in and stays 6 months, we can reissue that shirt, hoping that someone might want to wear it. But the equipment deteriorates quickly as well because they're moving around a lot in that equipment and they sweat a lot in it. If you ever see a cop in a Sheetz beer cooler, it's because it's a brisk 33 degrees, and in a summer day, that is the most feasible place to hide and get cooled off real fast. So if you were to take 38 officers, and God, I hope this does not happen, and you were to say, all right, now that we are targeting BLET, because the last process we ran, we had 51 applicants, and out of 51 applicants, only 2 were hireable, which is months of interviews, background checks, that it tied up my entire command staff when we could have made progression. If you noticed, I said that I wanted to have my NCLEA and my risk assessment done before July 1st. It's not gonna happen. We had to do hiring processes, we did interviews, and we had to do background checks, and a background check for law enforcement is very stringent. Now, if you take 38 employees over the next 10 years, now that we're seeing other agencies are sending people to the academy because it takes the expenditure off of someone that doesn't have a job, either straight out of college or the military, or just they grew up in the community and want to be a police officer, that price would be over $2.2 million just for the academy, the gear, and the field training, money which we will never get back. With that being said, you will have spent almost an entire PD budget in 10 years just getting someone here for 3.5 months and then 7 months of the academy. That's an astronomical amount of wasted taxpayer dollars, simply to have someone come in the door and leave. And I did not figure in the amount of money it takes for someone to train them. It is a 2-person job. It takes a trainee and a trainer to train someone, which means that if you take the cost associated with training an employee along with the person that's training them, that number would be higher, but I tried to keep the numbers realistic and very low just to show. So the next issue is investigator office space. And I'm not going to touch on it much. Me and Mr. Lansing are working on some alternative solutions right now, but I know since 2019, we've moved 5 times. We have a joke that I'm not going to say in here, but it's for detective zone. And that is a lot of moving around. We had black mold issues. We had an employee go to the hospital because of black mold, and luckily nothing has come of it. But at the end of the day, we looked for a solution that would fit them. And at the time, Mr. Lanson found God's grace and got us some free space at the county building at the old NARC office. But right now we are about to be evicted from that. I say evicted, we're not in a release agreement, that's just a joke. But we're about to get kicked out because of the opioid response task force where the federal grant came through for the county, and they're going to utilize that space, which means that now we're gonna move 6 times. But the good news with that is the long-term solution. We have been working on a police department. I think we've been making good strides. We've been trying to make the use of all the space and look at a 30-year growth plan. And also, you may have heard Dan from VC3. He talked about sieges. Sieges is a real thing. Levels of security in a police department. We will not be able to assume any of those accreditation standards unless we have those in place. We are looking at the accreditation standards while trying to formulate the police department and the plans, but it is a real thing. You have to have secure facilities access controlled. It may seem minute to some, but it's a reality. We can't obtain those things. And I will tell you, through the league, they recognize 15% price cut to what? They recognize a 15% price cut if you obtain the risk review through the league, and you obtain another 25% insurance cut if you go through NCLEA. The state has recognized both, and so is the league with insurance purposes. So what does the community expect from us? 2 of those we control, which is professionalism and accountability. My command staff's job is to ensure that through stringent policies and oversight, that through leadership and management, both at the same time, because they mean 2 completely different things, that our officers are professionalism when they deal with every single person in the community. I will tell you that most of the people they deal with do not reside in the town of Nashville. Out of all of our crimes committed, over 96% of our offenders did not live in the town. You have to realize you are at the 90-degree intersection of 2 interstates, and people hop off those interstates all the time, and we end up dealing with them, which means that we're not dealing with the Nashville people you see that might be a little You know, we know them all and they give us trouble. You're dealing with someone that you don't know anything about. And then accountability. We hold our officers extremely accountable. The other three are things that come based upon the community, which is the trust, stability, and experience. We can have all those things in-house, but what is the public's perception of how the police department is ran means more, because that goes back to the 6 pillars of law enforcement. What does the community think of you? What does the community think when it comes to legitimacy? So that brings me to public safety equity. Creating lasting relationships with the community based off trust. Not trust as in you trust me, I trust you, but does the community trust me? They don't know my name sometimes. A lot of them know my name, but it means when they see me, they associate me with character. Is my character high, or is it low, or is it dog crap? And when you lose someone, you cannot put a monetary value to relationships that have been built over 10 years. You cannot do it. We have a supervisor right now, because of monetary value, he's looking to go somewhere else. He lives 0.1 miles from town. Everyone knows him. And this is not saying we're doing this for him. It's simply, this has been an issue for far too long. Why don't we take a look at it? When you lose him, you lose someone the community has relied upon, someone has trusted. When they show up on a scene, they know that person. When you were at the county and you showed up on a call for service and they knew who you were, it made the world of difference. Look at Carlos Ricks. Carlos Ricks never needed a search warrant. Carlos Ricks would show up to that house, the person had told that officer to just pound it, and they let him in the door because Carlos Ricks had character. And I say him because he was a good friend of mine, and God rest his soul, he's not here anymore. But you can't attach monetary value to an officer and the interactions with the community. I've heard people say that it's a stepping stone agency. I disagree. I think that we are coming out of that curve. People want to work here. I've had many people reach out to me and say, man, when you gonna hire me? And then when we get around to the pay, they're like, oh no, we're not gonna do that. It's a pay cut. And I know you can't compete with some of the surrounding agencies, but we can be comparable. And here's the questions I kind of bring to the forefront. Is the immediate issue of a budget today worth more than 10 years of expenditures and maybe just doing a little bit more for the ones that do for us? Because that $2 million number is scary when you look at the police department budget right now. Take out the $90,000 and less of money, because that's not tax-based numbers. And that's only about $300,000 less than a whole PD budget. And then why do we settle for last place on a lot of these things when at the end of the day you expect more than last place out of us? And just because it says average on a salary study doesn't mean that your officers aren't above average and you shouldn't compensate them above. God knows if I could, I'd give more money, but I know we can't pay them what they're really worth. But at the end of the day, you can at least beat average. Now, with that being said, I have slightly good news, kind of unorthodox. In our budget right now, we're asking for one new vehicle, only one. Historically, we ask for 3 to 4. Our vehicle line item is at the very bottom. That number will not change, with the exception of the lease program. I think is one of the worst things that we have done as a town. You can ask Tressa. The lease program, it ensures that every 4 years that we replace cars. However, there's a lot of strings attached to those 4 years with the lease program. Buying cars outright, as long as we keep a mental note that they need to be replaced, because that is the mode of transportation to provide public safety to people. Some cars can make it 5 years. Some cars can't make it 2 years. It just depends. With that being said, the upfit cost for a car right now for an unmarked vehicle is roughly $10,000, and for an unmarked vehicle, it's anywhere from $27,000 to $38,000. If you haven't been in a police car, it is a cockpit of a fighter jet. They're the real deal. They're expensive, and it's not something you penny pinch on. With that being said, my solution is, as Puckett came out of retirement and went back to Zebulon PD, that left about $22,500 on the table. I'd like to reallocate that to salaries. Out of our vehicle upfit cost. You'll see in my proposed budget that was probably in an agenda, you'll see a plan A and a plan B with a bottom number that's really high. Well, I put both in there in case one fails, so you see an accurate picture of, if you subtract one, what's left of needs. But I think the more pressing need is this, because you can have all the greatest leadership in the world, but if you can't take care of your people, at the end of the day, they're not going to stick around. Also, if we take the money that's in the equipment 500, or equipment under 5,000 line item, that's roughly $90,000 right now, and you reallocate every bit of it but $35,000, which is everything for equipment that's essential, and then one vehicle upfit and reallocate that to salaries, that gets us closer. And then becomes the fact of if the 3% happens, well, that will get you to average pay. With that being said, that just means next year we're 3% behind with the COLA because we're including COLA to get us to the number we're supposed to be at. You'll also see that the travel training line item went up as well. North Carolina Highway Patrol's driving track is $550 per student that goes. Right now, we're on a hot streak where all the training is revolving around de-escalation, verbal judo, tactics, defensive tactics, and driving. Claims are down. I want to keep claims down because insurance has gone up. These cars are fast. They're basically mobile weapons. And that goes both for a citizen and that goes for the person that's in the cockpit. I want to make sure that they're safe. And I think $550 per employee to get them to a driving training where they really push the limits on your car. And it's not our cars they put the wear and tear on. It's Mustangs and Chargers. They have roll cages, they wear helmets, and they drive those cars into the ground. But it shows the officer what a car is capable and they know their limits. They water the track with fire hydrants and they do uncontrolled spins, they do controlled spins, regaining traction. And when you're in vehicle pursuits going over 110 miles per hour, those are all things that an officer needs to know how to do and needs a refresher. I don't know why in our basic law enforcement training, we do driving and firearms. And then you come out of the academy and the state mandates that you only do firearms. But if you look at fatalities of a law enforcement officer, most of them are related to driving. It's a reality. When you spend 12 hours on a road a day and then 10 minutes home and 10 minutes, back to work, you're more prone to being in an accident. You're on the road 24/7. $550 for potentially the cost of life to me is not much to ask. And then the only other two increases was the 3% industrial increase for dues and subscriptions to software and data support. Just that's the industry standard is 3%. Pretty much every software system goes up. The number's not astronomical. I think one's like 3,000 and one's like 7,000. Money does matter. I understand that, but if we can't afford the equipment we have and the subscriptions we have to investigative techniques, then I don't know if we're doing justice for our community. And I'll take any questions you got. Your handouts, you'll notice that the top one is the supporting documentation solely for just the positions within the police department. The one that Lou sent you, I think, is going to be all 400 and some pages to save you time for the police department. It's all right here. And I highlighted in orange the agencies that we chose based upon population and based upon full-time employees within the town. And then I highlighted in purple the town of Nashville's. I chose 2 above, 1 on track, and 1 below to give a variety, none of which are in our immediate area, but they were all comparable. And it just goes to show that the differences in average pay for communities that are like size. And if you were to do the calls for service based upon those, unless they are surrounded by interstates, I don't think you'll find it as high. The second one is Lily mentioned that she was going to provide you with a salary study, just to make sure you're getting an unbiased opinion from both her and me. This is the one that was sent that she corrected. She has added 2 to it, so I would lean more to the caution of hers, but just so you can see that my numbers were here, you can do the math yourself, just to make sure it's tracking. And then the very last sheet is just the findings from the salary study with where we kind of place as a town. And it's not just PD. I'm advocating for PD, but I want you to understand that it's more town when it comes down to it. These are our tax dollars, and I think that, there's a certain level of understanding. You have to take care of those that take care of us. A town's supposed to offer services, police, fire, public utilities, and that's our purpose. And I want to make sure that as a town, you can't make informed decisions if you're not informed. You do with it what you please, but I wanted you at least to have data.
Any questions for the chief?
I have so many questions from all of today that I need to formulate them and go to the appropriate parties after this.
I think I need to call Elon Musk.
Yeah, so you can doge the budget.
So I can respond to this budget. Oh, man. I just appreciate all y'all doing. If I could, I'd pay you more than anybody else makes, but it's a lot to really get that, study, pray about, cry about, whatever else, but anyway. I pray we make it work.
We're probably under more influence from the outside on this budget than we have been since I've been here. More pressures. You've heard from the department heads where they see the needs are, where we need to spend more money. The reality is on the taxes, we've done well. We've increased our taxable value quite significantly from the current fiscal year until what we're projecting, but it's still only going to bring in $222,000 more. That's general fund. The proprietary funds aren't quite as tight, but this year versus past years, we're going to be bringing some decisions back to the council to have to make. Even meeting in the middle, compromising. I just don't see how we're going to be able to cover all the services we're currently covering at the current level we're covering them at without some type of increase in revenues. Now, we already know we're going to have to do water and sewer because that's coming directly from where we buy our water and send our sewage.
Also, Randy, the tipping fees, 5%. Sanitation, the tipping fees, 5%.
Yeah, that's general fund. The rate study we have for water and sewer is being finished. We should have that at the April 15th meeting to go over with you guys about. But it's going to be a challenging year to get this budget put together and still provide.
The next budget meeting.
Well, our next budget meeting, can we bring that over? The budget work sessions.
20.
Yeah, I was gonna put it up there.
Well, Mayor,
Yeah, May 13th.
We only have one meeting.
Yeah, I got it on the screen there.
May 13th.
May 13th.
One thing to keep in mind too, the town of Nashville, we're right at 6,000 people. And the amount of services that we provide for a town our size is a lot. I mean, you compare us with other towns similar in size, they don't have the park and recs we have, they don't have the police department and the fire departments to the extent we have, their public works doesn't do what our public works does, they don't have a library, I mean, the list just
They
goes.
have crappy towns, is all I have to
Well,
say.
I'm not saying that, what I'm saying is, we do a tremendous amount with what we have, and it's something to be proud of. Public works wise, we're probably gonna have some recommendations for the council to consider when it comes to bulk item pickups, yard waste collection and pickup, that will save us time and wear and tear on some of our vehicles, but it will be a reduction in the amount of service. Maybe not having bulk pickup every Friday, maybe doing once a month, maybe going to a spring and fall cleanup instead of doing any bulk item pickup, or come up with another fee for bulk item pickup. If you call in and you need a bulk item, you're gonna pay additional above and beyond that $28 for sanitation
Well, that
fees.
would be fair, because then we wouldn't be punishing everybody. So I
Those
don't mind that at all.
Those that use it would pay for it.
Right, I don't mind that
The
at
yard
all.
waste collection, we got 2 days a week, 2 or 3 guys driving around picking up pine leaves, all season long. A lot of towns, their yard waste collection for pine leaves and regular leaves is seasonal. And
Well, I'd
grass
rather
clippings.
look at stuff like that than cutting salaries for our people.
We talked about maybe having a location where citizens could take their stuff on a given day themselves. Pros and cons with that. First con is if it's not supervised, you're going to end up with, beds and dressers and other things. And pro and con on cleanup days, spring and fall. It comes in from outside of town. It's more than our own customers that are bringing stuff. Now, how much that is, I don't know. A good thing about that is it gets the attention of the scrappers and the recyclers. So about half of what's actually put out ends up getting picked up because somebody else helped themselves to it already and made off of it. Like I said, pros and cons, but you know, our general fund, 60% of it goes to public safety, which is police and fire. And police and fire are 80% wages because they provide service. So it puts us in a real challenging position. You know, rate of inflation hasn't slowed any over the last 3 years, and some argue that it's even greater. But you know, it was pointed out to a meeting I went to last week that a fire truck that cost $518,000 in 2019 is now pushing $1 million in just a short amount of time. And then on top of the escalating operating costs, you got the capital costs, which are increasing exponentially. And I feel when it comes to wages too, public safety has had a faster increase than all of our other departments compared to our peers around us. They are just fields of professions that have increased greater over each year faster than other professions. And that's, again, just the reality, but, so.
Another thing too, we're gonna be faced with, I mean, Jason mentioned vehicles and stuff, we gotta worry about, unless it changes dramatically, fuel costs is gonna escalate just like this 15% we're getting out of Rock Run. But I'm gonna tell you, since over the past week, I paid $4.99 for diesel here. When I got down to Atlanta, it was $5.89.
Yeah.
And that's a lot when you got vehicles that run continuously. It takes more than $15 or $20, like I said. You got to spend $70 to fill your own personal vehicle up with fuel now.
I don't know if those fuel costs are gonna come down, we can all cross our fingers,
Cross your
but.
fingers, but that's it, you know. Until then, what you gonna do?
So, well, like I said, when we bring this budget back, it's likely not gonna be balanced like we have in the past years. Where we're gonna need input from the council on how to accomplish that. And there's probably gonna be some tough choices that.
We need to study all that we received today and just chew on it before we meet again, each one individually. Yes?
I was ready to just share that increase in the property tax, almost all of it is gonna be ate up with elders because of the rate increase, so.
So, you know, we have a new state treasurer. When the new state treasurer came in, increasing the local retirement fund contributions for the employers for both police and then all others, they're going up. And because we are a member of the state health insurance plan, that's how we provide the health insurance for our employees. The new treasurers put in a 2.4% increase for anybody that's in the state health plan that's also a member of the state retirement.
On top of their new hire.
So, I mean, Tress is right, that 220,000 is gonna be consumed just by that alone. And I'm not sure why the new state treasurer decided to do that. The old state treasurer had said all the funds are solvent, they're healthy, they don't need, the contribution rates don't need to be, but evidently they employed new actuaries and ran the numbers and there are increases coming. I am gonna reach out to our local state officials elected and ask them if it's possible for them to propose a bill that would allow us to get out of the state health plan. I don't know if we'd be able to do any better on our own, but right now it looks like we're being severely penalized for being in the state health plan and having no options. If we weren't in it, we might be able to go to Wellmark, Blue Cross and Shield, or Aetna, or maybe get in with a consortium of other municipalities and find comparable health insurance with benefits without having to pay that 2.4%.
It's worth looking into.
It's worth asking the question, yeah.
Any other questions?
Good news, you know, we got a lot of projects ongoing and we're gonna continue with those. You know, we got the manhole ceiling project, we got that 1.5 million from Nash County to do that. and we're continuing. Once we get that done, then we're gonna do televising of sewer lines and find the ones that are leaking and slip line those. Like Jason said, we're always gonna have I&I, but keep it down as low as we can. That's gonna help us with our bill with Rocky Mount. There's no point in sending clear water to Rocky Mount to be treated. You know, we've got Essex Road sewer extension, we've got Regency Estates sewer extension. Those we got grant money for to help. That last Don Davis Community Project Fund, we got repurposed from Regency and Essex to looking at getting rid of the Regency lift station itself. Every time we get rid of a major lift station, it's you know, I don't even know how you calculate how much money you save. You just truly do. When we got rid of the Elm Street lift station, it's probably saved us over $1 million in operating expenses already. And that was just done in 2017. It really comes back to benefit you when you can get rid of those stations.
Any other input? If not, do I hear a motion for us to adjourn? Second, all those in favor say aye.